for the delay. I was having a little trouble with the internet, had to reset the router and things like that. And I have two new guests joining us today. So we had to take a little time to get that set up. But we are going to be continuing from last week. Why is it that free thinkers get crucified, right? So we're just going to talk about a little bit of experiences that we have had dealing with the religious world now that it's understood that we don't believe, of course, in the narrative, of course, that they do. So I'm just going to give you guys a little time to come in when I have my comments up. Believe me, I will be responding to you guys. I hope everyone is well.
Kevin, I can't really see you. Like, I just see myself.
Oh, okay.
Like, I can't see anybody else.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We can only see you. I can't see anybody else.
Well, let's see what. Let's see here. I can't see the. Okay, so Tina, you are actually on the camera. You may not see me, but they can see you. Okay, and Crystal, did you press the phone when you called in or the video? If you press,
I must have did the phone because the video's got the little line through it.
Okay, so that means your phone is only going to, or whatever device you're on is going to allow you to do the phone. I believe.
Okay.
Josh, if you have any more information, just let me know, brother.
Yeah, let me get your comments and stuff set up first.
Okay. If she had a line, okay, never mind. You said first. My bad. Water. I will be responding to you guys. I see you guys starting to come in on Facebook. Welcome in. Forgive me for the delay, guys. We're going to be getting started soon. Trust me, it's going to be some things that you're going to want to hear tonight. Maybe you'll get some information and insight on some of the things you're going through with your own personal family and friends and things of that nature. So let's see here. I see some comments on YouTube. Fantastic. What's up, RBG? Let's get it. Peace, Black Queen. What's up, DJ Starks? The Master Student, I see you. What's up, brother? Jasmine Stillings, I see you. Hello. Jesse Benton, peace, family. Alfred Wilson, I see you. Candy, Amo, here. Nice to see you. Glad you're in the building. Blessings to you, Emperor Elder. Hello to you, Pink Sugar. I think that is. Ed Salters, peace. Brian, hello. Jasmine, hi. Jasmine said hi to everyone. Fantastic. Let's see here. Why People Why, I see you, Jay. What's going on? Sean, what's up with you? Why People Why? Look, I see you again. Why People Why is just, she's already put a couple comments up. Okay, I'm glad you appreciate the video from last night, Jay Fryman. It was up there for a while. It was a Patreon exclusive. So for those of you who don't know, I try to make those type of videos available to Patreon first. I have another one coming this week, guys. I will be, talking about the Bible Flock video, so you guys can get excited for that. But that will be a Patreon exclusive for a little while. I try to give Patreons, all of my patrons, a little bit of benefits to following or subscribing to Patreon. So that'll be a Patreon exclusive for a little while. Let's see here. Greetings, Eden. Jasmine, thank you. You liked the video last night. Fantastic. Chris, what's up? Nino, what's going on? I'm in Rock K. Signing up. Okay. I see you. A signing in point from Clear, Alabama. Okay. Doing well, Jay Finessing. Peace to all. I see you, Andy. So a lot of you last night, you saw the video. A lot of you loved that video from last night. It was called Battle of the Beards. Of course, just me responding to a guy who was just going crazy on me. Of course, when this video that video first went viral last year, it took a little while for me to respond to it as I didn't know the video existed. That was actually a live response, guys. I didn't have time to prepare for that. But a lot of you guys were really frustrated with what he was saying. And you guys were thinking it was kind of redundant. He wasn't even worthy. Some of you said they even talked with the guy. Some of you, a few Christians, I believe, actually liked what he had to say and asked that he be on the show. To a lot of you guys, I don't know him personally. I don't even know what his Facebook or YouTube is or his name. If you do know him and would like to invite him to my show, I would be more than happy to have him on. If you guys know him, I don't. So, Andre, what's going on? I see you. Jessica, welcome in. Jay, I hear you. That's cool.
So I can still comment shit.
Pay homage said that was hilarious.
Yeah, that
You know, Jester said he was crazy. Look, guys, you always when people see you, they see you from their mental paradigm. They see you from their own programming. So to him, I sound crazy. You understand what I'm saying? Like for him to sit there and make that video, in his mind, he was right. I mean, that's the only reason he'd have the confidence to even put that type of content out. Again, after a while, though, he must have noticed the comments weren't to his favor, and so he deleted the comments. They can always tell you a lot about a person. Obviously, I'm not out to manipulate or anyone. I leave all of my comment boxes open so people can put their difference of opinion if they feel the need to. My whole thing is, hey, if you can prove me wrong, please enlighten us. This whole thing is about growing. It's not about Kevin necessarily being right. It's about us all getting the tools that we need to move forward. I don't know everything. Neither do you guys, but all together, our intellect instantly becomes larger, right? We instantly become smarter when we're together. So loud dudes with big beards are always right. Even that was my consensus as well. This is why they draw God with a big beard. It just makes him more right. You know what I mean? And see, Jay said it's amazing. I would have agreed with him a few years ago. Absolutely. You would have had the same mindset as him or the same programming as him. Thus, what he was saying would have agreed more with your psyche or your paradigm. Absolutely true. Guys, with no further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest just to introduce him a little bit. Crystal, you're going to be able to hear her. So Crystal's not going to be on video, but of course Tina will be. And they're both going to join us for a little while to express a little bit of their experiences since they've walked away from religion and things like that. And so without any further ado, I'm going to give them a moment to speak. I'm going to allow them first to introduce themselves first. So Crystal, if you don't mind.
Good evening, all. My name is Crystal, and yes, I have walked away from the religion. I actually came across one of Kevin's videos, but I was already doing my studying, and the more studying that I did, it got like really to a point where it was an overload because it was so unbelievable. But as far as the religion, yes, I don't understand why people don't have the mindset to even try to wrap their head around the whole ordeal, the whole idea. I mean, I guess it is difficult, but it wasn't difficult for me because I always knew something wasn't right with what was going on, like growing up in church and having to go just to say that we went and giving up our money and all of this other stuff. And another thing too, Kevin, when I started looking at those holidays, some pagan holidays, I was like, blown away what they were celebrating for Thanksgiving and what Christmas really means and what it don't mean. And it's just like been a great enlightenment, and this is a great awakening for the people, for whoever that can grasp this, because some people's mind is so small they couldn't even wrap their head around it. But I feel so free, and I'm sharing it every chance I get. And I haven't been getting beat up yet, but I'm sure that is to come. Because commending Kevin, because you really did something when you came out with this.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, and it's like everybody. It's a lot of people that's actually waking up. We got some of our leaders that's on the same page as Kevin, that's coming out with their conscious music now and again. So we're gonna have something that we can listen to and actually relate to. And I'm so excited about it. And another thing is we can't go too far back because some of the old heads, they just not going to go. But it's more for the youth, our children. We have to let them know the truth so they can be set free.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know. I don't want my little cousins and my babies growing up and being 35 and really finding out the truth. Like, that's sad.
Right.
But appreciate y'all having me on, and I do got to go to work, but I will be listening in.
Sure. And thank you for taking your time and coming on, Crystal. Absolutely.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
And I want to say this too, Crystal, before you get off. Crystal and I had spoke after the event of Jamar's event that was in Atlanta. If you guys missed that, you really missed out. It was really great. He gave a lot of information. But we were inside the building. I had said something to Crystal. I had said that, it breaks my heart to think about all of the people that we love on their knees praying to someone who isn't listening. And you should have saw her face. You could see the pain in her face, and that this is a real problem. And both of us sat there and looked at each other and was just like, this is exactly why we go so hard, because we do feel sorry for people like that who don't know any better, who actually believe that there's a God
Right.
outside of them hearing their prayer, and they're crying to this God. I'm talking about nobody's around listening, and they're spending their time on their knees talking to someone that they think is there, when they can be actually utilizing their own gifts to recreate their reality. But instead, they're sitting here asking someone else. It's just it really is sad. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but just to know you have loved ones who really are on their knees praying to someone who does not exist in the realm of reality. So I just wanted to say that she is a very passionate person and is 100% for the movement of waking up our people. And you could just see it in her face. I just wanted to say that before you got off, Crystal.
Thanks, Kevin. I'll be on. I'm going to be listening, but I am going to get ready for work.
Okay. And thank you very much for coming on.
No problem. Ashe.
Ashe. And so now we have, of course, Tina here. If you guys don't know Tina, I'll just say that she has already gotten started with the process of trying to wake others up. She's taking the information that she is learning, and she's often putting that information out so other people can have that information, which I would say that is a beautiful thing. So I don't want to take up any more of her time. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. Tina, welcome on, and I'm actually honored to have you on.
I'm excited. I'm excited that you brought me on. So excited. I can't believe I'm on. I'm always watching. And then Kevin's like, hey, you want to be on my show? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be on the show. So I'm excited. So I'm Tina. I've been out religion, I would say, about a year and a half now. And I left a religious cult 2 years ago. And ever since I left, that was really what started me. That was what started me into my journey of finding myself, because I was a part of this religious cult for 7 years. And during that time, I have really lost myself to the point where I was just like, who the hell am I? If I don't have God, if I don't have Jesus Christ, who am I? I was raised in Christianity, so Christianity is pretty much all I have ever known.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a pastor. He passed away, but he was a pastor. And my mom was a Christian. She still is. So it's religion is literally all I ever knew. So when I left the cult that I was in, I was a part of for 7 years. When I left it, I did not have any idea that I was going to leave religion. I just thought, I'm just finally leaving this cult. Mm-hmm. But then from there, I kind of got into learning about other things. I became enlightened, and I had a whole spiritual awakening. And I know a lot of Christians hate that. They're always like, no, only God can awaken you. There's only enlightenment when it comes to God. Right. And I just, once I had hit that awakening, I really knew who I was. Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh, wow, there's more to life than just the Holy Bible. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I came out on my Facebook, on my own personal Facebook, and said, I am not following any labels. My best friend, who's a Christian, who invited me to the church I used to be a part of, she hit me up and she's like, what are you trying to say? You're not a Christian anymore? And that was my first time coming out of that religious closet. Mm. That was my first time admitting. And that was really hard, but I was like, you know what? I need to be true to myself. I need to be real. I don't like to put up a front. I'm very honest. And so ever since then, I've been on my journey, and I'm not as far into it as Kevin is. I'm still learning a lot through his channel and other people, and even some of the other people that he has on this channel often. And it's scary, but it's a good feeling at the same time, because I've really evolved. I've really changed from who I was 2 years ago, the person I was then, to who I am now. But then the only challenge is when you still have people in your life, in your direct life, in your surroundings, who still follow religion, and they follow it so much to the point where they have a hard time accepting that you don't follow it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I'm feeling with.
I got you. You mean people in your direct circle?
Yeah, in my direct circle. Yeah, so my husband is still Christian. I call him a heavy-duty Christian. He's the type that if it's not God, if it's not Jesus, not Christianity, then you're doing the wrong thing, and you may go to hell. And then we have kids together, so now it's like that whole thing of how are we gonna raise them? Are we gonna raise them to be Christian, or are we gonna raise them to be free thinkers? And so it's like everything shifts, everything changes. It's a lot. I know relationship when it comes to a lot of friendships I have. I know I'm risking things, but I would rather, as bad as it sounds, like I don't want to risk things, but I'm not gonna sacrifice anything. Like I'm not gonna change who I am and pretend and put up a front and pretend to be someone that I know I'm not, especially if I don't believe in it. It's hard once you go from being someone who always thought off of faith, like you go off of faith, and that was how you thought. And then now to go and think more logically, I can't go back, I can't reverse.
Right. And even to that, like you said, and we talked about this some last week, whenever you have, one parent who has walked away from religion and another parent who still subscribes, like what exactly do you do? You said, do we raise them to be free thinkers or do we raise them to be Christians? And when you think of this word, and I talked about it a little bit last week, indoctrination, it means to be taught to accept a set of beliefs uncritically, right? So anything other than raising them to be a critical thinker would be indoctrination, regardless of how beautiful it sounds, right? Because regardless of the hope that these beliefs that even to this day, like that makes him happy, giving your child, your set of beliefs without thinking about it uncritically, it is indoctrination. So that's what I would say, or what I would offer is that we shouldn't indoctrinate our children. We should always raise them to be critical thinkers. Now, listen, the children are raised in a home with a Christian man. Believe me, they'll hear your perspective, right?
Yeah,
but you also right, and so
I've already gotten questions.
Absolutely, and so there's no way around it. They're going to hear his perspective, right? So the main thing is that they get to hear yours as well, and so that this way they can actually critically think about the information that's being presented to them. You see what I'm saying? This actually, although it's probably not ideal, of course, for you wouldn't want any of that to come in, but at the same time, your children will have a benefit that I didn't have. I didn't hear anything about any other side of religion until I was already a grown man. You see what I'm saying? So I would have loved to just have one person in my household who challenged my way of thinking, and really caused me to really think about the beliefs that I'm accepting prematurely and without fact. That would have been amazing for me because I probably would have woken up a lot sooner or probably never been put to sleep to the extent that I was,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I look at it, I say they're benefiting from having you in the home because you would be able to offer that side of critical thinking to them. I don't really see how a person could accept it if they do have that side of critical thinking to them. You see what I'm saying? Because it's always going to be like, can you prove this? I mean, the answer is no.
Yeah.
Right? Like someone asked a question earlier. When you accept a set of beliefs uncritically, your brain doesn't process things the way a normal brain would because you already identify with the belief, and now it's hard for you. Someone asked a question earlier, why is it that when some people die, they say that they saw Jesus if Jesus is not true, right, or is not real? Now, to them, that's a logical question, but what they're talking about is people within this demographic who may have a near-death experience and say that they saw Jesus, right? When people have near-death experiences in India, they see Krishna, not Jesus. See, it's what we have to understand is the word image or imagine is made up of two words, right? Image and end, right? Image and end. So once you continue to see an image that's outside of you, sooner or later that image is going to be inside of you. This is why when people see pictures of who's attributed or credited to being Jesus, they actually feel hope. Now, this is a painted individual, right? And if this person had really existed, we wouldn't have a picture of him anyway, right? But when people see a picture of who they think is Jesus, they feel hope. Why? Even a Christian who is endowed into the belief of Christianity knows that's not their savior, that's merely an image that someone else made. So why do you feel hope when you see it, right? It's a mentality thing. Your programming is what's causing you to feel hope. You're experiencing that image the way you were taught to experience it. This is why when you see an image of what we attribute to being a monster is, we get scared, right? If you remember remember a while back, thank you very much, Brian, for the donation. There was a movie that was called Candyman, right? Now, we know a Candyman is someone who sells candy, but this movie was actually able to make this word scary. So much to the point that where children would not look in the mirror and say this name 3 times. I mean, I'm going to tell you what's crazy. There are adults who won't do it because they've carried that indoctrination or that fear into their adulthood. Just hearing this name 3 times in the mirror, and this guy shows up to kill you, right? This is what I mean by you're seeing this, and all of it. Before you ever saw Candyman, you never had a fear of saying that name 3 times, not once.
Yeah,
it works the same way with beliefs. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's just to answer that question that she had stated earlier. But I would just say it's actually a fantastic thing that you are the free thinker within the home. And I wanted to welcome you on, Lorenzo. I think I saw you there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Fantastic, brother. Welcome on. Everybody, Lorenzo's in the building.
How y'all doing? How you doing, Tina? It's nice to see you.
Hey, oh my gosh, I love your videos. I'm subscribed.
Hey, Uncle Renz.
Oh, hey, Crystal, how you doing?
All right.
Tina.
Yeah.
I like your videos as well. I've seen Tina videos. They're good. Good girl. I love your story. Is coming out of Jehovah's Witness, right?
No.
And so it's
it was
sorry.
Yeah, no. People get confused and think it was Jehovah's Witness just because I did like a Jehovah's Witness series, but I wasn't Jehovah's Witness. I was a part of a Christian.
I'm sorry.
Non-denominational.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I want to say, Crystal. I know you're still on, and if you're not speaking, mute your mic. We can hear your background. It was causing a little bit of distortion. So just mute your phone until you're ready to say something if you're still on. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead. And thank you very much, Begging for Change. And I hear you. I'm going to speak to that too, brother. Go ahead.
It's funny what you were saying, because just earlier today, how you get these mental things in your mind from things that you were taught. So I put on one shoe today, but I had to go into the bathroom, right? And in my mind, the only thing I was thinking about was, man, this is bad luck to be walking with one shoe on in the house, which is something that I picked up from my grandmother a long time ago. And even though I know it's not real, there was this thing in my energy that said that, oh man, I felt a little funny. And I had to sit there and actually think myself out of that. Like, okay, this is ridiculous. I know that has there's no such thing as luck. Right. But then I was just like, this is ridiculous. My brain went back to my childhood of don't walk around the house with one shoe on, or don't walk around the house with one sock on. That's bad luck. And when you were saying how people, they get that, we get those things in our mind, it's hard to release them. But it takes through meditation and a lot of thought, free thinking is how we get rid of that. I'm
so glad you said that, Lorenzo. I appreciate you saying it, because that doesn't tie to a specific belief, because what a lot of people have this, man, like pay homage. I mean, not pay homage, but Begging for Change. It just says he still sees this image of what he was taught was Jesus, even when he's not sleeping, right? Even when he's awake, when you think of the name Jesus, you see this image of Cesar Borgia, because you've been taught that was who that was. Well, you're talking about something simple as, bad luck and good luck. I call these brain hiccups. Right. Like your brain is trying to catch up to your knowledge, but when your brain has been taught a way of thinking for so long, it does hiccup and revert back to that. Listen, I had a best friend. We almost got in a car accident, and this guy was 28 at the time. And I'm talking about me and him was on our way to work early in the morning, and this car pulled out in front of us. Lorenzo, when I tell you this man we almost got hit by a car, my homeboy said, Mama, I swear to God. This man said mama. Now, he could not help it. Now, I'm sitting here looking at this grown man, because we was both bodybuilders, all right? He's like this big old dude. He said, and the tone he said it was like, mama, like, what could your mama do for you right now? His mind reverted back to that childlike state. His mama to protect her. His mama was a small lady. Like, dude, she's in worse condition than you if she in this car. In most cases, your big old butt. But that's what I call a brain hiccup. His brain immediately went back to his childlike state. And that's what happens to us. Like, if I say something that is upsetting to a believer about their religion and they get angry with me, that is a tantrum. I know it's a grown adult acting this way, and you see it all the time. They post evil stuff. Tina said that people read, like, I'm talking about copy and paste scriptures like all over all of her videos. That's a tantrum. That's a grown up reverting back to their childlike state. You see what I'm saying? Because you've said something that upset their mental paradigm. You didn't say anything negative about them. You didn't call them ugly. You didn't tell them their breath was stinking. Nothing. You merely made a video about why you no longer subscribe to a religion. And now they're coming at you saying you need to get your mind right. Right? Literally investing time and energy into you personally because you don't subscribe. And the funny thing is, it's in the face of many preachers who are multimillionaire preachers robbing their congregations blind, and they don't care anything about them. But they'd rather come to you. You see what I'm saying? Someone took a picture of me, myself, Ray Hagan's Polite. They even got Callie on there. Callie just really getting started into the movement, and they got Callie on there too. I'm doing this, and it says like, "Beware of wolves in sheep's clothing." Well, the thing about it is, right? We've never calling us wolves in sheep's clothing couldn't be further from the truth, because none of us are portraying to be a sheep. Yeah. We're not wearing the clothing of sheep. We're completely honest with you that we don't subscribe to your belief, right? This would make me not a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm, in fact, revealing myself for who I am. I'm not attempting to betray here, right?
Exactly.
But you see this, the images that they used didn't contain any preacher that robs the community, period. Now, if you ask yourself a question, what's worse for a community? One KKK member, one racist person, or one really good preacher? What's worse for the community, right? Because what power does a racist KKK member have? But how much power does a preacher have, right? Think about this. You're not going to line up to give a KKK member your money or allow him to manipulate you, right? But a preacher's able to do those things.
Exactly. I mean, you can't, and that's the whole thing about that situation. Like the fact that the KKK member, you know, that's the enemy right in your face. Mm-hmm. But the minister, the ones who's taking away your life, truly taking away your life, that's the one you don't see.
Right.
But the trick you're using in a picture like the one you described, I haven't seen it yet, but the picture you described is to say that you're a wolf in sheep clothing. It vindicates the preacher, because they're saying, see, our book told you about these people. Our book told you about these people. But what you will never see them do, they won't put a picture of a rabbi, a picture of an imam, a picture of a Buddhist monk or Hindu. I don't know what the Hindu call it. I think monk. We're just going to go monk.
Yeah.
They wouldn't put a picture of those people on there and say, beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. But somebody who comes out and say, hey, I want you to be able to think for yourself, to be able to study this information for yourself, come to your own conclusion by reasonable deduction, by looking at these stories and really understanding them. Those are the wolves in sheep's clothing, because they recognize that you are the greater threat. You are truly the greater threat. Because a Muslim imam, black, whatever, coming up to a black church, they're really not they're not that strong. They're not going to be able to pull that person as well as somebody who says that, look, I want you to keep your money. Matter of fact, I'm going to teach you how to build your credit. I'm going to teach you how to buy the land in your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I'm going to teach you how to think freely of the oppressors, not only the ones that look different from you, but the ones that look like you. Instead of you hoping and praying that you get, pressed down and shaken and running over, mm-hmm. I'm going to show you how to press it down, show you how to make it run over, and then show you how to create it so that your next generation,
very much, Brian.
I'm going to teach you how to buy this strong. Now that is a danger to them, because now you're taking away their ability to sell hope. And as soon as you take away their ability to sell hope, now they can't keep driving their Cadillacs, they can't keep that building.
Absolutely.
So that's why you become the wolf in sheep's clothing, but they ain't worried about the imam, because the imam is running the same game. You know, the priest is running the same game. Everybody else is running that same game of, oh, don't worry about it, you're just going to get pie in the sky later on. So they have to attack. I'm mad I didn't make the picture. You know?
I mean, you may be on there. I have to go back and look at it. Maybe you don't speak. Look, you don't speak on religion. See, Lorenzo, here's the thing about you, brother. when you're talking about religion for the most part, it's because you're coming onto my channel and you're helping people deal with religion. But man, you've been out of religion for so long and you want a whole different teaching. You see what I'm saying? So these people, you're not even on their radar because you're teaching on, so esoterics. You see what I'm saying? Like meditation, like you're outside of their frame. I mean, hey, from their point of view, you don't talk. I haven't saw you really do a whole lot of where you target them or whatever. If you were to speak on your views on religion a lot more, man, your face would be plastered on that too. That's just how it would be. You see, because you're very knowledgeable in what you do.
You're right. And I can't stick to one thing. I go. Right. I have so many ideas and thoughts. I just got to keep going on all ranges. Right. Because for me, part of the freedom, see, what I love about something that Jamar said the other day is when he was talking about how we pan, the panning through the different speakers. So if all of us were talking about the same thing, then there'd be too much distortion. Mm-hmm. But since we talk about different things, now what that does is give the conscious community a lot more to grow from. Because we can talk about finances, we can talk about the hermetics, and we can talk about meditation, but we can also break down the steps for them to become free mentally, because everybody needs things at different steps and different levels, and that's the beauty to me of the whole thing. Because you can go to any church. Next week you can go to any church. All of them gonna talk about Mother's Day. Right. That's just a whole bunch of distortion. All of them after that, they all gonna talk about tithes. The week after that, they're going to talk about going to hell or salvation or prosperity. It's the same teaching. It's all because no matter where you go. So then it just comes down to who's charismatic enough to make you feel good. Right. But see, with us, you can get some of what you need to truly build your life. I used a big word today called polymorphic, and that's what I see us as, all being polymorphic. That we have a base, but it's like stem cells. We can write the code for whatever we want to write the code. And when you're free thinking, you can write your own code. You can change your finances. You can change it up. But at the same time, you free your mind and free the minds of your children, and everybody else that comes around you begins to get free as well. Mm-hmm. And that's terrifying. That's terrifying to the whole religious concept. It's also terrifying to the educational system. It's terrifying to the government. It's terrifying completely to anybody who wants to keep people pressed down and keep them enslaved mentally, but they never release themselves, from the tyranny that is conformity. And that's what I love about what we do. So I may not be on their radar, and that's cool. I don't need to be on their radar. I need to just sneak. I'll just reel it. I'm gonna say, like Harry, just put a rail on. Just grab some, let's go.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. One dude, he saw his name, he saw his face wasn't on it. He said, "Why ain't I on it?" Lorenzo, this man went back, edited the whole thing, and put himself on it. I said, man, wow. It's just, it's just wild, man. I mean, he's like, man, I do enough. I feel like I do enough. I should be on here. Like, so we trying to make the list of insults from these people, So somebody did it to me a while ago. That's why these things are everywhere, man. Somebody did one that had my face on it and another brother's face, but it said, actually a couple other brothers' face, and it said that only a fool says in his heart that there's no God. And it's plastered in there, and in the little Christian group pages and stuff. And it's just funny to me because I'm like, it's so much going on in your world. People are like, your ministers and preachers are out here raping little children, and you're calling me a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, it's so sad to see this. You see what I'm saying? Like, I would never harm your children. I'm literally talking about what I have learned through my research of my own religion that I accepted prematurely. And now I'm demonized, while the very people who literally harm children, their face is not on this list. In fact, if they get known for doing it, they still won't openly discuss it because they believe that these people are anointed, right? So they actually believe that they are anointed. So what can you do? When you saying I won't touch this man of God, they can rape your children, they can preach whatever they want to, unchallenged across the pulpit, tell people that tithe is real, and accept tithe as if they are a Levite. Like, I'm talking about as if biblical like tithe in Old Testament is a real thing, right? And they're sitting here telling people that it's money, telling them they'll be cursed if they don't give. And I am who you choose to make a meme about. You know, and then to be called a wolf. You see what I'm saying? So when people say, Kevin, you know, that doesn't bother you, man, honestly, if I allow that stuff to bother me, man, I'd be tossing and turning every night, because people are always going to talk, cut tantrums. They're always going to talk junk. And frankly, it's nothing you can do to stop them. What are you going to do? Right? You can be the strongest man in the world and people still going to talk about you. So it's like, instead of worrying about it, just say, hey, I know what they see as a monster, because from their mental paradigm, from their programming, I am such, right? If they see me as a heathen because from their programming, I am one. But don't make it up. Seeing me as a wolf in sheep's clothing is just a stretch. I'm not trying to be a sheep. In fact, I'm telling everybody there's no need to be a sheep. I tell you, your fear of a wolf in sheep's clothing is only proof that you're a sheep, right? You don't see bears worried about wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Only sheep worry about people that's dressed like them. You see what I'm saying? I'm not a sheep, so I don't worry about wolves in sheep's clothing. You know, I look at people simply for who they are. You know, I don't believe that anyone's anointed, for that matter, not to a point to where you can do things and I'm going to let it slide. You crazy, right? And we all need to stand up to a point to where we don't allow people to do things to our children and say things to our family members that we know is not right. Quit telling our family that they need to be tithing when you know you're lying to these people. Show them in the Bible. Have a Q&A. But see, the thing is, until we can get the people at the church to remove this whatever they think about this magic or whatever they think has been sprinkled on their preacher, to the point to where they're afraid to ask their preacher questions, we need to get rid of that fear. Because if we can do that, we can wake up a lot quicker, or at least stop being manipulated so much. Why doesn't the preacher allow Q&A to explain why he accepts your tithe money, why he's asking you for it? Why no Q&A? Why would he just utter scriptures like, will a man rob God, and talk about there'd be a hole in your pocket? But can you please explain this at the church without the music? We don't want nobody kicking a we don't want you going and none of that. We want you to talk like a real human being talks, right? No music in the background. Stop trying to serenade us and tell us why you accept tithe. Why won't they do that? Why? You know, Tina, I want you to talk a little bit about your experience. Like you said, you stepped away from a cult. I wanted people to be able to understand more of where you're coming from. I want to thank Shanae Wade for the donation, and thank you also, Raina, for your donation. And Tina, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your experience with the cult. You know, of course, we understand the word cult means culture. But we understand also when people say that they came from a cult, they're meaning something that's a little bit more than the typical culture. So I wanted you to elaborate some of that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I was a part of, like I said before, I was a part of a Christian non-denominational cult for 7 years. And me and my husband joined it, and I was introduced to it by my best friend. And I got baptized. At first, I had to do Bible studies. When I joined it, I didn't want to join. I joined it because I felt like I had to, like I was manipulated. So basically, my husband started doing, in order to join, you have to do a series of Bible studies. I talk about it on my channel, which, by the way, is like, if anyone wants to check out my channel, it's in, Josh put the link somewhere in there. So basically, my husband started first. He started with the studies, and he got baptized, and I was told that I needed to be on his level. And if I wanted to keep my marriage going, then I had to study too. We were newly married. We had just gotten married. So I was still fresh in the whole marriage thing, and I was just like, oh man, like I just got married. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I got to get baptized. So basically, the church I was a part of teaches that in order to go to heaven, you must be baptized. It does not matter how long you call yourself a Christian for. It doesn't matter how great you are. If you are not fully baptized in water, you go straight to hell. That's what they teach to this day. And so I was like, fine, I'll do it. Let me just check it out. So I started doing the studies. And I saw all the red flags, but I never paid attention. I never really took it seriously. Like my gut instinct told me, there's something wrong, they're doing something wrong, but I went with it anyway. And then finally I get baptized, and then I had like that honeymoon, that new Christian born again honeymoon phase. I was going on Facebook. I was like that annoying Christian, always always talking about God. Always saying, I'm gonna pray for you, I'm gonna pray for you, and all that crap. So I became one of those. I even had like a shirt that said, Jesus is my Lord and Savior and all this stuff, and walk around with it. So yeah, I was one of those. I was like heavy duty Christian. So this was like I was raised in Christianity, but this was a time when I took it most seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I took it most seriously at this time, and during the 7 years of me being a part of this church, I felt like something is wrong, something is missing. I just didn't feel right. I was always told what to do, who to hang out with. I was always told that I would go to hell if I didn't go to the church. If I didn't go to church on Sunday, they would call me. They would show up at my doorstep. It got crazy. I could never find anyone who could understand and who could relate to me and could say, yes, I understand what you're saying. I feel the same way. No one could get what I was trying to convey. So I would try to reach out to people and say, listen, I just feel like it's too overbearing. I feel like people are always trying to hit me up talking about, are you studying the Bible? Did you do your quiet time? I just feel like I don't have my privacy to myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was told that I had an attitude of, well, I can't remember what they said, but they said like I had my heart wasn't good. I had heart issues. I was dealing with humility issues. I had pride issues because I questioned things. So basically, because of the fact that I was my own individual, and they tried to change me. They tried to change how I was. They tried to use Bible scriptures for everything, but they're very good at twisting up Bible scriptures. And so they would tell me I wasn't being humble. I have to be submissive to my husband. And I was like, wait a minute now, like how submissive are we talking? Because I was raised by a single mom. I don't know how to do that whole stay home, cooking, clean. Like I have a life. I want to do my own thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't like that. If you show yourself as an individual or someone who has any kind of critical thinking whatsoever, then they will make you feel as though there's something wrong with you, and they'll make you feel as though God has an issue with you. So finally, I had the last straw. I saw a couple of things go down in the church that I didn't like. I addressed it. I said to myself, I'm going to address it. If they don't take me serious and don't change the way that they're teaching the Bible, then I'm out. I'm leaving. And so they didn't want to change anything. They was like, all right, well, we'll pray for you. You can leave. And so some people that I really trusted and I thought really cared about me, I thought it was my friend, they cut me off. They shunned me to the point where they would see me outside and they would just like turn the other way. Wouldn't even talk to me. So after that, I went through some depression because I was just like, all right, where was God during that time?
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I'm confused. Like, where the hell was God? Like, I always try to do the most. I always try to do the best. And every time I try to get up there, there's always a member, or like we have discipling partners who keeps you accountable. So my accountability discipling partners always tell me, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough of this. You're not doing enough of that. So when I decided to leave, they were like, you're going to fall away. You're going to go to hell. This is the only church you're supposed to be a part of. And they made me feel like nothing. So I went through a depression. And then I started a YouTube channel. But my YouTube channel was not really meant to become what it is now. I was just like, let me just put up a video and just share my experience and see if there's anyone out there who's been a part of the same church as me. Because the church that I was a part of is everywhere. It's the ICOC, International Church of Christ. That's the name of it. And it's like in every state has a ICOC. And it's even out the country. So anyway, so then I did my video, and then I started getting a lot of emails of people like, wow, I was a part of that church too, or I'm going through the same thing that you went through. And people asked me, can you do another video? So I was like, all right, let me try another one. And then after that, I just kept making videos about my experience. And it was basically tracking my journey. And ever since then, it's been about a year now, probably Yeah, just maybe like around a year since I've been doing my videos. And so now on my channel, like I help people who are dealing with spiritual abuse, who've been traumatized from that cult. But the people that watch my channel they're not all ex-Christians. Like I have atheists, I have people who are Christians still, they're still believers. I don't really try to tell people what to believe, but I help them. And I let them know, like, look, whether you're religious or not, you're a person first of all. Like Christianity, all these labels, they're just labels. You're not what you call yourself. So now, like, I've just started this journey of I guess like my spiritual journey. You know, I'm learning more about the conscious community now, and I'm learning all these different things, and I'm sharing that on my channel. But I feel like because of my experience of being so hurt from being in that cult, like it left me feeling I had the worst fear ever of hell, the worst fear, and that fear is just now starting to really, really subside. But the fear of hell was really deep because that's all I knew my entire life. And being in that church, that was always rubbed in my face. You're gonna go to hell if you don't do this. You're gonna go to hell if you don't do that. So now I feel like I've changed a lot from who I was. When I was a part of Christianity, I was more in a box. Like I felt enclosed. I felt like anything I do is wrong. So I have to be careful not to do this. I have to be careful not to say that. You know, I'm a Christian. I'm not supposed to believe in gay marriage. But guess what? I do believe in it, you know? So am I really a Christian? And that was something I lied about who I was, just because I was like, if I admit that I'm all for gay rights, and if I admit that I don't have a problem with this or with that, and that's supposed to be a sin, then I'm looked at as I'm not a real Christian, even though I felt like I really believed in what I was, you know, learning, and I believed in God, and I got baptized, and I knew what I was doing when I got baptized. But now I'm still going through my journey, but I feel a lot stronger.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, like I said before, you know I have things on the line. I know I have, like, my marriage is on the line. I know this because my husband is very heavy into religion, and you know he doesn't say he's gonna leave me if I never return, but our communication is off sometimes, you know. And so I do speak to a lot of people that have issues like this, where you got married and you both were Christian, but then one person leaves and it's like, oh snap, like there's more to life, there's more to the world, and then the other person's still stuck in their one world, and they're like, well, you're probably gonna go to hell, or what are you doing? You're ruining our relationship. What about the kids? Like my kids, whenever I record a video, whenever I'm doing my recording, I send them to their room. But sometimes when I'm editing, they come out, they hear it, you know. Like my daughter's 12, my other daughter is 9. So just the other day, my 12-year-old was asking me questions, and she's like, do you really go to hell if you're gay? That doesn't make any sense. And she never knew that. Like, she was just like, I don't think God would do that. And I'm like, well, if you know, you're young now, but if you look in the Bible, there's a lot of things you won't believe. So I do teach my kids that they have to think for themselves. Absolutely. I allow my husband to take them to church. I'm like, look, you want to teach them Christianity, go ahead. But I teach them that when they're older, they make the decision for themselves. And I tell them, you need to research everything. Don't just know one thing. And for me, I always knew one thing. I always knew Christianity. I never knew nothing else. I was never taught anything else. That was like taboo. So I'm just now starting to really come out and tell people, like, hey, you know, I don't believe in the God of the Bible. I say it on my channel, but people I personally know, I'm just now telling them and being honest and saying, I don't believe in the Bible. I'm already done believing the Bible. I don't believe in the God of the Bible because he sounds terrible. Like I can't believe in that type of God.
Right.
And the more I'm watching your videos and Ren's and like some other people, the more that I'm learning, and I'm just like, oh crap, like there's a lot of stuff I never knew, you know. And it's scary, but at the same time it's exciting because you feel more empowered. Whereas
It's
before
true.
I felt
The more you know, the less likely you are to be manipulated. If you've been like, if okay, and I'll give you an example. Let's just say you're driving down the road and you're using your navigation system, right? Even at your phone, you looked an address up, and we use our navigation system pretty often. Even if you're in your own city, there's always some place you've never been to before. But have you ever noticed when you have your navigation system on, and it seems to be giving you a roundabout, like you know where you are, and you're looking at the navigation like that's not the best turn to make, right?
yeah,
So now
that
you're
happens
able to
all the
critically
time.
think, right? So that, but notice that only happens when you know where you are. When you don't know, that never crosses your mind because
Yeah.
you don't know, right? You're gonna go where that thing tells you to go, and you go hush, right? But if you know where you're going, and it's in an area where you're comfortable, you know, and even that navigation is wrong, and you can choose to defy or to go outside of what it's telling you, and sometimes it'll say recalculating and give you a shorter time, and you like, I knew that was taking me around Jacob's barn, right? And that's exactly how it is. Because manipulated just means to be pushed or coaxed into a certain direction. That's what it means.
Yeah.
So whenever you're using your navigation, it is manipulating you, right? It's getting you to turn on certain turns. Well, the more you know, the less likely you are to be manipulated or guided by that instrument because you know more about where you are than even that thing, right? And you feel more comfortable in that moment. Hey, I don't have to listen to you about that because, hey, I know this much, right? It's beautiful. And here's the thing. Once you identify with that navigation that it knows more than you, you're going to allow it to take you wherever it needs to. And sometimes it does take you all the way outside. Like the other day, I'm going to pick up some shirts that I had ordered, right? For people who had purchased shirts. So I'm going to pick them up. And I type in the street name I needed to go to. Now I'm supposed to be going to Charlotte. Apparently this exact street name and house number is in Rock Hill. My butt all the way in Rock Hill. I'm supposed to be in Charlotte. Right? So I call my man, like, I'm outside. And he's like, I don't see you, bro. I'm like, dude, I'm sitting right here. I don't understand, right? I done followed the whole road. I'm so mad at this navigation at this point. You know what I mean? It done got me all the way in another city. And now I got to drive another 45 minutes to an hour to go to this place, right? Because I simply trusted the navigation. I didn't know where I was going. Now, see, I wouldn't make that mistake twice because I've been there now, right? And so my whole point is I ended up somewhere totally where I didn't want to be for following this thing and trusting it. And this is a lot of times what happens to us in religion and even coming out of religion. Someone has a little bit more information than us. They make us feel like they do so that we feel more comfortable trusting what they know. And then we end up somewhere totally different than where we wanted to end up. Like you end up being a racist black person. You end up, how I get there, right? I wasn't even dealing with racism as a Christian. Now I'm woke up and I hate white people. Like, how'd that happen? It's who you listen to. You don't listen to a lot of information. Now all of a sudden you've adopted the belief system, right? And now you have to act a certain way because you're a queen or a king now, and even that can be stifling for someone to tell you how you should act and how you should see other people. And we ain't even talking about religion, right? You said that I couldn't accept, or I was okay with, and we call it gay rights, but let's just be honest, that's just some made up crap. We're talking about human rights. Like, we know of one life on this planet, and no one should try to stifle the life out of anyone, right? Especially when they're not causing intrinsic harm to you. So who a person sleeps with behind closed doors isn't hurting you, especially in the face of our food being poisoned. Right? And them creating laws that we know are not beneficial to us, and we care about who people sleep with, right? We care about this stuff because it's glaring in front of us. And like you said, hey, I couldn't even openly say, hey, I'm for this because I'm supposed to be identifying as a Christian. And with being a Christian, it says I can't do this. It's an element of control. Again, if you believe that the planet has real words on it, like if you zoom out, whoever that is, hit mute. I can hear your background. Hit mute on your phone if you don't mind for me. But I'll try to talk over it until they catch that. Okay, so okay, great. So like, if you look at the map, it's going to tell you that there's a place called America, right? Africa, and all these different places. But if you really believe that you live on a landmass called America, which is a man-made name, you may actually believe that now you have to act American, right? Or you should have American pride or pride in America, right? Because you actually believe you live in America when it's just a man-made name. And so why would you take pride in the name of somewhere? You can be honest about where you live regardless. Whistling Dixie is a term that is when you are bragging about your country prematurely and you haven't done any real research on how your country operates. So when you hear people bragging about their country, that's what they call whistling Dixie, right? You're whistling Dixie. You're bragging saying, I live in the land of the free, when really you live in the land of the slave, right? But if we hear land of the free over and over, we might actually think we live in the land of the free. It's like when you chant things over and over and they say God is good and you're supposed to say all the time. You may actually be convinced that God is good all the time. Well, God can't even make it through Genesis and be good. Like he can't even get through Genesis being good all the time. Like this man punished everybody for somebody else eating some fruit. Like every person in the world now got to die because one person ate some fruit and you say you good all the time. You can't even make it through Genesis. Like the first allegory in the Bible, you already not good all the time, right? All the time. And it's so funny. He rarely makes it through any allegory, maintaining this consistency of being good all the time. He's just not. And the funny thing is, if you speak to that and you say he's not good all the time, you don't even have to say he's evil most of the time, which is true, But if you say he's not good all the time, a Christian will get angry. Now, why when they have the same Bible that you do? When they can look in the same book and see that God hated Esau before he was even born, but he's good all the time. How can you hate somebody before they're born, but you made them? you have all the control in the world that Esau don't even have to be Esau. Like this person does not have to think the way you made him to think. You made a person that you naturally hate. He's attributed for telling Lucifer that you've been bad from the start. Basically, you're all bad. You've always been bad. So when you made me, I was bad though, but you all good. Something that's perfect cannot make something imperfect. It's impossible, right? Let's just say you got a cookie cutter, a star, and you just pressing the star and all into the cookie, right? Are you gonna end up with circles or stars? Right? It's being made in the image, right? It's a star every time because it's a star cookie cutter. You're not going to end up with a triangle, right? It's just not going to happen. And so if you use a star cookie cutter and you get the circles, you have to assume maybe you're not using a star cookie cutter. Maybe this God is not perfect, is my point. I
don't know whose background that is, but that's pretty loud.
Who all is on?
Her mic is
Say what?
Crystal's mic is coming in with a bunch of noise from her.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh, remember, Crystal, if you're not saying nothing, mute your phone. That way it won't hear that. And guys, I want you guys to understand. Remember, we talked about having other people onto the show, and when they were talking, to try to give them as much respect as you possibly could. Let's encourage one another. We don't want to be saying things that you wouldn't want someone saying whenever you were on here trying to talk about your experience. Okay, so let's make sure that that we're making sure that we're keeping it in our forefronts, right? Making it a priority to show each and every person that comes on here, whether they agree with us, whether they don't. Let's show them love, right? Let's do that. Begging for Change says that Esau was better than Jacob anyway. I mean, I agree. You see, Jacob was a con artist, So, but again, when you look at the literature, you have to think like an American. And if you talk great of any other country, now you're an un-American. If you don't like the flag, which is an image that's printed for you to be subjected to, if you don't kneel to this flag or put your hand over your heart when they're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, you're now un-American. But you must first believe in America. You must first believe that you live on a landmass that's really called America. Please understand that your world was given to you and created for you, okay, to keep you in bondage. Religare is not just religion. Religare is a word that means to bind or tie up. Anytime you're investing your brain, your mental capacity, your identity into something like that, that is what is called religare. The same way people do this with religion. I had a guy tell me that he believes that people should respect the flag. And I just asked him simply, man, what is the flag? It's a piece of fabric. Right? It's a piece of fabric. No one would be upset at Jews for not respecting a swastika, right? No one, because they were held in captivity and killed with this sign being predominant. So to ask people to love a flag, they haven't even changed this flag since this country was enslaving people. I mean, it still is, but we're talking about blatant enslaving people, and they're still asking you to have some type of gratitude or feel some type of compassion for a freaking piece of fabric. Like, while they poison real human beings, we want us to care about fabric. This is what we mean. Like, all this stuff is a cult, right? A cult. You're into the culture of a thing, and you invest your identity into it, making it more powerful because you think that you're really a part of it. You really think you're an American. And so now you must act like an American and think like an American. It's just another way to subject you and put you into a box. Lorenzo, what do you think about what I'm saying? Do you think I'm just saying this, or do you agree, brother?
No, actually, I agree with you 100% because, I mean, we get into that mode of being putting value on something that's just a piece of paper, a piece of cloth, when the true value should be in how we treat one another and who we are as beings. Not, okay, I'm going to worship this flag by giving this allegiance to it, when in truth, for me, that flag represents the oppression that my ancestors stood upon, that their backs were broken up, that the ones who did want freedom, that they had to fight for and die for. So, and it also represents, all the stuff that they went through during the 60s and the 50s and the 70s and that sort of thing, and even what we still go through today. So, to me, I can't look at the symbolism of a flag that still doesn't represent me being treated as a human being or as a spiritual being, as an energetic being in itself. So I have to take the whole thing into context. And I went and served. I went to the Marine Corps to protect the flag. Is what they say while we were there. Now, for me, I was there. One, I got married and I need to be able to take care of my wife and keep my wife at the time. I ain't having kids. But the other part of it is my thought process was I need to be equipped to be able to fight all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Absolutely.
Because most of my enemies were domestic enemies. I may have went to Desert Storm, but my enemies were back here.
Right, absolutely.
But they was back here. But my enemies was always back here because those were the ones who were, my oppressors. As Ali said, my oppressors, my opposers. Those were the ones who was doing that. And I do want to speak to Tina's current situation, and I understand that, and I feel you in that one. Although I'm at the end of mine. You see, me, just give you a little bit of the story, a little bit of it. And I'm sure this will help some other people as well. I got married very early to the girl I was with in high school. She saw me go through my process from high school on through. And even though I participated in a lot of things, like I went to the church that she was at because that's where she was, not because I wouldn't be there, but I'm chasing a skirt. So that's where I am. But she knew my thoughts. And so when we got married, those thoughts were already there, and she saw the progression of it, right? But she was still very much into the church and into Christianity throughout our entire 17 years of being married. Now, the difference is that unlike some people, I taught my children, I taught them the entire Bible. You see, many people, they shy away from it. But instead of shying away from it with kids, I taught them the whole thing. I didn't just teach them the John 3:16s and John 3:3, and I didn't just teach them all the good little stuff, the little sayings that people say. I taught them the parts where it says that if your daughter is raped and she's a virgin, that she has to marry her rapist if he pays 50 shekels of silver. I taught them how Joshua was said, go kill everybody. And for a child to say, now, God told them to go kill everybody, but now I want you to think about what is God. Oh, well, God is good. God is perfect. But he told him to kill everybody. Who is everybody? And this is when my kids was 12 and 9. Who is everybody? Oh, everybody is the adults. Well, they said everybody's everybody. I said, no, break down who is everybody. The adults, I was like, yep. The mothers, yep. The children, yep. God killed the children? What I did, then I would just tell them, just think about it. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I taught them the entire Bible. And then I told them to think for themselves. Now, as they grew up, me and their mom got divorced after 17 years. They still went to church with her. But as they started questioning things and started speaking, their connections to that, to what they were what their other side of the family was trying to program them into, they start walking away from that. Now they still maintain respect for their mother. Like your kids will still maintain respect for their father if he stays there. But they kept with the information coming from them to her, she's began to move away from it. She's began to realize like she doesn't pressure them. Like now my kids are 22, 18, 16. So there's no pressure on them to go. Their grandmother every now and then, I want you to go, I want you to go. And they'll go. And they'll sit there and be like, you hear what that joker said up there? You know that. You know, because they'll call me and tell me about it. So as they grow up, you teach them to think freely and just by showing them everything and letting them come to their own conclusions, then they'll realize that there's no way that version of a God could ever be the supreme deity that has supposedly created this. We are not perfect. They say we were perfect once Eve ate from the apple. But how can you create a perfect being that needs to eat to regenerate, needs to sleep to regenerate, and even more so, if we were created perfect in His image, according to the Genesis, why do we have a digestive tract that goes into our large intestine, small intestine, large intestine, and then poops out crap? Why do we have waste? We should not have waste. Our body should be designed perfectly to absorb all energy, and nothing go to waste. So I mean, as they got older, they started realizing things like that. Especially that middle girl with her little scientific mind, they start realizing all those things in their own way. The boy is still, he just don't care. But you know, but if you just teach them the whole thing, I think you'll find it better. And sometimes it's better relayed from the children to the other parent than from you to the husband. You know, so just that's been my journey. That's been my kids' journey. And the beauty of that being my kids' journey, they haven't, because everybody knows I'm that way, and they know that I will not tolerate my kids being mentally or spiritually abused, they respect it. Some people won't, but for the most part, they do. Just a thought process.
I like that, though.
So that's something I hope it helps.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. That's a good point.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of you guys, I don't know if you realize like what I call it word magic, but we're talking about etymology and the breakdown of words, understanding phonetically the sound of words and how the government uses the sounds of words to communicate, where you read the word and you don't really see what it's saying. But we know that, you know, when you go to court, you have two lawyers and they are attempting to either defend you or be against you. And what they're doing is they're playing a game of tennis, right? They're serving each other. They are bouncing a ball back and forth. Whoever has the best way of explaining it wins, right? It's not really about if you're being guilty or not. Like what Lorenzo's talking about, he taught the whole Bible. He equipped them with enough information that, Tina, you said that inside of your cult, they believe that you had to be baptized or you was doomed to hell, right?
Right.
So when you teach your children, of course, like Lorenzo does, to read the whole Bible, they may say something like, well, if you're doomed to hell, if you don't get baptized, the thief that was on the cross, he tells Jesus that I believe in you, even though nobody else does. I believe in you. He was a thief now. Why did Jesus tell him today you'll be with me in paradise? Why didn't Jesus say, you know, everything would be good, but unfortunately, you didn't get baptized. So I don't know what to tell you. He said, today you will be with me, right? So we do understand that baptism. Now, we do understand that baptism is symbolic, which means to cleanse or renew. Babies are born in water, right? Your water breaks. When you go in the water, you're being born again, right? It's a rebirth. This is what it is. It doesn't actually mean you getting into any type of heaven or anything like that. It's symbolic. Some people don't even submerge you in water. They just drop some water on your forehead, right? If you understand Zodiac and what the Bible's attempting to do, or what the writers who wrote the literature that was plagiarized into the Bible was attempting to do, will show you the balance of each sign. So, of course, Aries is the head. Aries on the Zodiac body chart represents your head. It's first because their year in Rome started in March. So, of course, they use now the year in Africa started in Virgo, which was a woman, right? Now they start their year in March, which is the Ram. This is why in March Jesus is crucified, because he's the Ram of God. That's why Moses is brought to in a burning bush, or why fire was said to consume Mount Sinai, because God is representation of fire, right? Now, if you look at Jesus or the Virgo, one of the balance side of flip sides of the Virgo, a lot of people don't know this, but it's just just look it up away or research away. Thank you very much, Greg Burke. But the woman, of course, is attributed for being the Virgo holding the sheaf of wheat, hence the virgin born in Bethlehem, meaning house of bread. But also to the Virgo, there's a bird, which is like a freeing type of sign. And if you notice, Jesus sends his Holy Spirit, whose image is that of a dove, right? John the Baptist was the rabbi at the time before Jesus was anointed or baptized. And the Bible says whenever he was baptized, the Holy Spirit descended on him like a what? A dove, right? Is it not funny that when Jesus said, I'm sending my Holy Spirit, he's referring to that of a dove, right? A bird. When you look up any sign, if you type in the Holy Spirit right now and go to images, you're going to see a bird. I guarantee you. And it's only because this bird is the flip side or the balance side of Virgo. A virgin is someone who's supposed to be nervous, right? Or innocent. A bird, though, is free, right? Hard to hold down. A Virgo has both of these qualities in terms of the balance side of the Virgo. So this is why you get the Holy Spirit from Jesus, so just so you guys know that. But you're talking about a literature that was meant to mean something else, but because we've been manipulated, we see something totally different. We see it as being real. And when someone is challenged and even shown the evidence that these characters are in fact fictitious and they only represent concepts, right? People get angry, and of course they make you the enemy. And of course, like Tina says, she's gone through a lot of that. You can tell that by her demeanor that she's very even keel, right? She's not going to be aggressive and insult people. Like she says, I'm trying to help people who suffered from spiritual trauma or mental trauma while being in religion. And even with doing that, she's getting, targeted by a lot of people who believe in religion by way of saying, hey, I'm going to post all these scriptures on every one of your videos. And then I was telling Tina before we kicked the show off that the funny thing is, if you don't respond to them, they treat you like you're hiding something, as if you have to respond to them. Like they actually have this arrogance about them that if they ask you a question, oh, you got to respond. And if you don't, you must be hiding something, right? It's like they come to you with all of these assertions, which proves they're not really wanting to dialogue with you, right? The guy who put that post on my wall of the photo with me, when I asked him about it, I said, brother, you guys can do that all day. That's called ad hominem. What that means is that you'd rather talk about me as a person rather than talk about the stance that I'm choosing to take, meaning I need evidence before believing and subscribing into your idea of God. And you're now making me an enemy when you could just show me the evidence that I require if you have it, right? And you're angry because you don't have it. You don't have the information. Otherwise, you would not be angry. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of it is we have to deal with the fact of understanding how your brain works. You hear information that you're not that you're not used to. This is what's going to make you mad, right? Because you're also programmed to get angry at information that you're not used to. This is what we're taught. And how can we really get along if we're taught to see things that way, right? I just talked about earlier that, we believe we live in a country called America. And I talked about some of the things that go on in America. And with the fictitious laws that they make, and they actually believe if something is written on paper, they now have a right to subject you to what they wrote on paper because you are a corpse, and this is how they see you. Within the government, you are what they call a straw man. This is why your name is in all caps everywhere you see it on a government document. Corporation comes from the word corpse, meaning a dead entity, right? So this is why you don't have a life with the government. They only see you as a commodity, right? That's it. That's why they tax you. That's why when the government's in debt, you owe money. Because you're the commodity. You're the government's money. The government can borrow as much money as they like because you're going to be paying taxes. So this is our way of paying you back because our citizens, right, pay taxes, right? They pay us taxes. And if you look up the word citizen, it derives back to a word from slave, which literally means slave. So we are considered such through the eyes of our governments. But me speaking of this, someone said, well, you have other countries that's worse. If we're going to keep doing that, how can we grow? If our attempt is to always try to say, well, some people do it worse or some people do it this way, how can we really grow? And the reason we say these things because we feel attacked when we shouldn't. I did a video talking about, when if you're in a boxing ring and I'm preparing you for your next fight, and I'm telling you, keep your hands up, right? You known to keep your hands down. This guy you fighting, man, he hits hard. It's not going to take a couple of hits, and you're going to be off your game, be dizzy, or even be knocked out. And so the whole time I'm telling you to keep your hands up, you're talking about the other people inside the gym who don't keep their hands up. But they don't got to fight this guy 2 weeks from now. You do, right? So if I'm telling you to keep your hands up, you're not going to feel attacked because you know we're on the same team, and I'm only trying to help you win. So when we're giving information to you guys by way of making you better, it's completely unnecessary to bring up what someone else is doing. How can you be better if you focused on someone else? The way in is out. You have to be able to, if you change yourself, you change the world. If everyone focused on themselves, we wouldn't have a problem right now. The problem is we're all taught to look at other people and shift blame, which is a lack of responsibility. It's irresponsible to do that. The goal should be to try to accept responsibility for your reality as much as you possibly can within the realm of saying this, okay, I have something to do with this I don't, right? And then try to work through that. That's what we've done with religion. We were taught to see a world a certain way, and we took it upon ourselves to say, you know what? I don't want to be manipulated anymore. I want to know what I know. I want to do research, proper research, and see where I arrive. And then when you arrive to the place to where this literature is not a fact, it doesn't have enough information backing it to even really put seek my identity into or invest my life into, why is it now that we become bad guys? Because they've been taught to excommunicate you. You see what I'm saying? Like you said, my own friends stopped talking to me. Like they see me now because in their minds, again, we call government laws statutes, right? But what is a statue, right? A statue is an image that's built in front of you, right? For you to look up to this image, revere this image even, right? So if we continue to look at these statues, right, and see them as powerful images, we'll never be able to get by them. We have to understand that every value attached to everything in your life was given to it by man. I said in the video earlier, diamonds are not really valuable, nor are they rare. But if you see a diamond, that shiny diamond is going to make you want to go into your bank account and purchase it. Someone, Payhamid said earlier that marriage is a form of slavery. Marriage, the marriage certificate, the sheer fact that you're taking on a man's last name is a testament to that, right? Why do you need the government to approve your relationship? If you really think about this, can you not love each other anyway? Why do you need the government to say, okay, I'm going to write down that you guys are officially together? And some people even say, well, if he love you, he'll marry you, right? If he like it, he'll put a ring on it, and make you think that these things are real. Facebook is an app, and people in relationships hold each other, accountable for posting pictures of each other, like on their Facebook. It's an app. It's an app. And if people were dating a long time ago, before Facebook, I think that they were lucky. Like, I actually think that people who dated before we had apps were lucky, right? Because I don't even know you that well. Why would put up pictures of us on Facebook and now I got to tell everybody why it didn't work out? I'd rather not do I'd rather Facebook be one thing and my personal life be another, right? That's my consensus. Now, some people like to post up, pictures of their relationship and be like, relationship goals, and that's cool too. You see what I'm saying? But we both know that picture has no indication that your relationship is going well, right? Because people post those pictures all the time and be ready to break up, really, because they posted this picture. Now you got to stay together a couple months because you done posted that last picture. You don't want to break up too soon after the relationship goes. I mean, you had on matching Jordans. You got to make it last another 60 days. I'm kidding, man.
To the next J's.
Right, listen, the next J's coming. Say what Lorenzo? Huh?
I said that's when you get that dead space when they all of a sudden they don't post nothing for about 3 months. There's no pictures, nothing.
No pictures, nothing. Yeah, man.
Say that, don't you? Name, nothing. All of a sudden, relationship status now got hidden and everything.
Yeah.
I'm working on
Yeah, and you under construction. They put a picture of like a building up there. Talking about, I'm working on me. You just need time to announce that you had a breakup. It's cool. People break up all the time, but I mean, I feel you.
I have it's a friend of mine. Her and I used to argue like hours and hours on end about what marriage is. And for her, she's devout Seventh-day Adventist and cannot let go of the idea that without paperwork, you are not married. And I was just like, okay, show me in your Bible where the paperwork marries you. Because there is nothing in here that says, and there's paperwork that Moses talked about to divorce you, but there's nothing in this book where paperwork is required to marry, right? And then when she started, then of course they told out you gotta do whatever the government says. That you follow the rules of the government. I said, now that's talking about, and I stayed away from some of the things that I could have talked about on that one for the most part. But I'm like, well, that's talking about laws. Getting married is not a law. You can live with somebody, and it's not against the law. So you're not breaking the governmental laws by living with somebody. So that still is not a justification of marriage. But there was no way around in their brain that they can get out of their mind that you're not married, because they was like, well, I can, you can't get benefits. I was like, yes, you can. I can get power of attorneys. I can do wills. I can do all kinds of things if you can get the same benefits. And health companies are giving you benefits. The only thing you may not be able to do is certain tax filings. That's about it. And I think if somebody, living wills take care of the whole doctors and all that kind of stuff. But, it's just the mindset was so stuck on this is what it is because I'm giving to the government. And then I said, well, how about 300 years ago when most people, the government wasn't giving out marriage certificates? Were those people then not married? Because there was no marriage certificate. In the black community, 50 to 100 years ago, most of them didn't go to the government. It wasn't until income taxes came out that people started saying, let me get that license. Because that license gave me, a deduction. But what people really didn't realize is that license gave the government access to your life.
Absolutely.
It gave them access to be able to know what's going on in your house and be able to govern who's together, who's not together, what's going to make you stay together. They started governing your life by introducing that. And now, because rich people used to just write it on the tapestry. They didn't worry about getting the government. Well, it was on the tapestry. It was in certain books and records and things like that, private records. But it's just a whole thing just to get people caught up. And she, even to this day, her mindset is still, without that piece of paper, you're not married. Whereas, like, to me, if I'm with you and I'm spending all my time with you and all my days and we planning life together, guess what you are? You marry me. I don't give a dang about a ring. I don't care nothing about no paperwork. And because none of those things matter.
Right.
None of those things matter. And the paperwork is as easy to break as anything else.
Because what does the paperwork really do? Like, really, what does it do? People who gonna cheat still gonna cheat. they ain't gonna stop them from doing. You gonna hold up that piece of paper and it's gonna scare all the women away from your husband, and vice versa. That paper don't mean a single thing in the realm of reality.
That's what they say.
Right, that piece of paper, you get more.
Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. And they see you with that ring on, it actually brings you more attention, right? And it's just crazy because people will feel like their relationship is more real because now it's solidified with the government. And you have to think, man, we've been taking on our slave master's name for how long? Wasn't this an indication that we were owned, right? A lot of our last names are due to the people who owned our ancestors and those names being passed down. So why would you want to take on somebody else's name, right? Why? You don't need to. You can love each other without that paper. Say what?
And you just said they're taking on, and it's all about the government, right? Doesn't they book say that they should not be of this world, but not be transformed of this world, or not be of this world, or something like that?
That's exactly what it says.
But yet following the government statutes means that you're part of this world that you're following instead of following more of a spiritual path.
Right.
I'm just saying, a little contradictory.
It's absolutely true. I guess they use the obey Pharaoh's law, the law of Caesar. We also have a term, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that was actually another point that I used to make to her, because as a 7-day Adventist, they don't wear jewelry. So they don't exchange rings. but sometimes they'll exchange watches.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's the difference? It's a piece of jewelry. And then in one form, I got to get a piece of paper, but in the other form, you say, I don't get rings because that's the world. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You know, those are those full, like, can I get the full concept?
Right.
You know, if you get this full concept, then you recognize that this just is not matching up. Like, something's not right. And since it's not right, then you have to say that, okay, maybe there's something different that is right or that's better for me instead of me just following. But it's kind of like a quote that I saw today where Earl Nightingale, this guy Earl Nightingale way back in the day, he said that, fear is not doing the opposite of courage, but I'm messing it up, but being a coward is giving into conformity is basically what it is. I'm saying it wrong.
Oh, wow.
But basically, the opposite of courage, he said the opposite of courage is not fear, but conformity.
Did you say who this quote was from?
You just broke up, so I didn't understand.
I'm sorry. Did you say whose quote that was?
Earl Nightingale.
Okay. Somebody had asked. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Earl Nightingale. But yeah, I mean, and that's why that's the thing. When I see people giving into conformity, then I see cowardice. Right? That's true fear. Because the only reason you're doing it because you're afraid of losing the approval of all the people around you. You know, and you're afraid that they'll say something about you. And then, of course, they built up that fear of hell, which is a place. It can't exist, doesn't exist. It's an impossibility for it to exist, you know, as an actual place. When I see people on Earth today living in hell, you know, when you see the stories about the women who are living in sex trafficking and who are being forced to live in these houses where they're being forced to be prostitutes and all these that's hell. That's hell. You know, these little children that are being abused daily, that's hell. Going to some place after you die, there is no hell. That place doesn't exist. Hell is right here. And even if you read their book says that hell was here on earth. So it even tells you right then that your hell is right here. At least it has enough wisdom to understand that the hell is the mindset that you live in while you're here, while you're experiencing this existence.
Right.
So that kind of fear.
Now here's something that's crazy. The word hell is spelled Hell, Hell. Hellenism, okay. Root word hell, okay. Hellenism is the study of Greek culture. We literally do live in hell, short for Hellenism. We live within the study of Greek culture. Monday is Moon's Day, right? Tuesday is what's the name's day? Wednesday is Woden's Day. Thursday is Thor's Day. Friday is Friar's Day. Saturday is Saturn's Day, right? And then Sunday, of course, is Sunday, right? And these are all names that come from Greek. Who is Woden? Woden is the father of Thor, right? Why is his name in your days of the week? All of your months are Greek names, right? So we live within Hell. We study Greek culture, even to this day. Go to your colleges. You don't see any African fraternities. They're Greek fraternities, right? You study Greek culture. This is Hellenism. You know, you can be mad at what I'm saying, but it's a simple fact. You know, look at the days of your week. Look at the months of the year. Look at, like I said, go to your colleges. They have Greek. It's a study of Greek culture. Jesus is a Greek god, believe it or not. He is. His name starts off as Jesus. And although they try to give him history in Africa, this is a Roman god. I mean, I'm telling you, his name comes from Zeus, who was also a Roman god, a Greek god. I try to tell people, you know, when you're talking about heroes, you're going to talk about, you know, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and you know, a lot of people who we call today as heroes. But gods are gods, not heroes. A god is someone who was saw as a god at some point and was worshipped at some point. So when you hear Greek gods, these are not the equivalent to heroes. So don't think that Hercules, the son of Zeus, is the equivalent to Thor. You understand what I'm saying? Or a hero that we call today. These people were gods, literally worshipped at one point, right? Believed in at one point. Greek gods. So our whole goal is to put enough information out there so that the images now that we hold to as gods now, they'll one day be an old Greek god, right? An old god who people used to worship. As our intellect evolves, maybe we can put Yahweh right there with Zeus one day, right? And don't get me wrong, there's still a few people who believe in Zeus, but if we can put him right there, in the category of Zeus, then we moved forward, right? What would you say, Lorenzo?
Now, I was laughing because there is some equivalency of Hercules or Heracles, depending upon which culture you're talking about, being an example of Jesus.
Absolutely.
Of the Jesus. Mm-hmm. Because, he was born of Zeus and an earthly woman, because Zeus came down and got busy with the little earth woman.
Absolutely.
Then, as he was born, he had 12 trials to go through. And then after he had finished all his trials, he ruled over, I think it's Argon is where he ruled over.
Mm-hmm.
And he was promised that when he died, he would ascend up into the heavens.
Absolutely.
Which is why we have a star constellation called Hercules.
Absolutely.
So, and for a while, he took on the burdens of the world.
He sure enough did.
He took Atlas Freight on the burdens of the world for a while. So, they had a lot of material to work from. That they can just piece it all together. I know a lot of people in the conscious community like to run straight to Heru or Horus, but don't leave Hercules out now. Hercules got his part in there as well, So Absolutely. The whole story is just all mixed up and made into this one entity that people have now worshipped. Because it was Ius and then Isus and then even though people run around talking about Yeshua now, well, that don't translate to Ius, Isus, and Jesus.
Not at all.
That translates to Yahweh.
Right.
Joshua.
Absolutely.
Decimated, murdered millions of people.
Right.
What's that do?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true.
So they forget about that, and so they don't shortchange Hercules. I like Hercules. That's a good movie.
Absolutely. And look, you can even see people that talk about Hercules and the life, so to speak, of Hercules, and talk about, was Hercules lying, or was he really convinced, that he was the son of God, that Zeus was his father, right? And so there's literature that suggests that Hercules may have even really existed, that people really believed in this dude by way of existing.
And here's the thing that I was talking to a person about a week or so ago. The story of Hercules. Hercules could have been an actual person, king of a city called Argon, who actually could have done some things that were like, man, that's amazing. Andre the Giant did some things that were amazing to us, right?
Absolutely.
Now, he could have been a person. But then, as time goes on, the story gets bigger, like the big fish story. It gets bigger, until it becomes legend. And once it becomes legend, then we have this, then we want to call it myth as we've grown. But while it was legend, it was worship as a belief. So let's just say, that could have been a dude. Because, Josephus do talk about 4 different people named Yeshua during that time. Some of them did some things that are attributed to Yeshua in the Bible. There was a guy named Yeshua. He came in during Palm Sunday, flipped over some tables, was saying all kind of stuff about serpents in the church. They took him to a different Roman governor. He beat him up a little bit. And then he said, this dude just crazy. And they let him go free. And he went out and started some old mess somewhere. There's another Yeshua who became the chief priest after his brother James got into an argument with some of the other Pharisees. You got that Yeshua too. He was around during that time frame as well. So it's possible. Let's just say there were some real people who actually named was Yeshua who did a few things. But then he died around 30 AD, whoever these people were that Josephus is writing about in 70 AD. And then they claim that, here's it. Well, he was actually writing a little bit before then. He was writing around 50 AD. So then they got this book of Mark that came out about 20 years, around 50 AD, about 20 years later. Nobody's seen the person. They just writing a story that they've heard. He's getting a little bigger. Then here's Luke and here's Matthew. It comes about 20 more years later. Well, they've heard it. They've seen Mark. Now the story getting even bigger. Now all of a sudden he's doing a little minor miracle. Then, about 100 years later, here comes John. John said, I'm going to take these minor miracles, but I'm going to make them big.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, now he's walking on water. He's healing all kinds of before he feeding 4,000 people with a 2-piece fish sandwich.
Right.
He doing all kind of stuff. And he got big. 120 years later, now it's legend. And not only is it legend, the Flavians have said we can control the people with this. Let's go and get the Alexanders in Egypt. Let's get the Herod to really write this stuff down. And we can control people. Oh, yeah, and that Irenaeus dude, let's get him to write some stuff, too, so we can really control the people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all really, it wasn't even about creating Christianity. Let's hold down these Jewish revolts that are going on because they keep looking for a Messiah who's supposed to be a wartime
Warrior.
general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not some guy talking about some turning the other cheek.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have started out as an actual 4-person being, but then went through the transformation of becoming legend. Kind of like with black folks. We had, what was it, John Henry?
Right.
Now, it's a great story, but ain't nowhere in hell he took a pickaxe and dug through a mountain. That just, come on now.
Racing a machine, right?
Tall tale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to realize, that there are so many in history that went through that process. Why couldn't this guy went through that process as well? But I love what we're doing now because we're breaking those things apart and recognize, just like we have to recognize that you can go to the top of Mount Olympus and ain't nobody there.
Absolutely.
And I've been to Israel several times, and they just as confused over there as people are over here, and believing stuff that don't make no sense, getting into fights, can't agree on nothing as to what actually happened or where any of these things actually were, and just making up stuff. They just some of the, when you go there, you like, seriously? Are y'all really saying this is the tomb? Y'all crazy. Right. Are you really saying that this is where we planted, that where the cross was? Nah, bro. That could not have been. Right. And it just, all kinds of made us, this is what a rock that's covering the tombs? Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Ain't no rock rolling away. It had to have been a hell of earthquake. Right. In order for that. And so it's just so many things start unraveling that you're like, this just doesn't work. Right. And then when you go to Egypt, you're like, I don't see nothing but no slaves from Israel up on these walls. I see their whole history consecutive, continuous, without any kind of breaks. Mm-hmm. So they got a consecutive history. Where the slaves at? Where the Hebrew slaves? I don't see none of them. Right. Oh, but the only place it says is in this Torah, in this Bible, written by people around 331, BCE, because Ptolemy told them to write it. So it's like, come on, man. You start to see these things and start to recognize, and then you go down to South Africa and you see that there's been human civilization for over 200,000 years. So how do you get Adam and Eve? Right. Adam and Eve can't do that. Doesn't work.
And what happened with the flood? Why are those people still there?
Man.
You see what I'm saying?
I know the Minoans survived the flood. The Chinese dynasty survived the flood. Right. The Hindus survived it. The people in Chile survived it. Peru. They all survived the flood, but yet your book tells you 8 people did. Right. When you go to Chile, they're going to tell you that they had hundreds of people who was up in the mountains. In the Chinese stories, they had hundreds of people in the mountain. The Hindu had the same. Everybody had people up in the mountains or building boats. It's ridiculous, the fact that people just turn the blind eye to this, because they got to have that conformity. They got to have everybody. They got to feel like there's something better. Like, I'm not just going through this, and I need somebody to scapegoat this for me as well, because that means I might have to actually do it myself. Instead of me not spending more money than I make, I'd rather just pray that the check coming to me. That sounds better to me. And that's the whole mindset. That simple thing like that is the entire mindset that people have to try to keep this thing going. To keep the train going. And then they'll and then when people like us say something, when people like Tina says something, all of a sudden, I got to come against you, because if you change it, then that means I have to change. And people don't really like change. The only change people like is the ones that they decide they want. Right. Any other change, you don't want it.
Absolutely.
So they have to fight us. They have to come out. They have to destroy. They going to destroy you. Yeah.
Hey, ask him if
you you sound like somewhere.
Norse. Payamish was asking, are you familiar with any Norse mythology?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
which one you want to talk about?
Like Hel, the goddess Hel.
The goddess Hel? You know anything about the goddess Hel?
You talking about Hela?
Yeah.
Hela?
Loki's daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Hela is Loki's daughter from and also that wolf Fenrir, the Fenrir wolf, that's Loki's son as well. That's so they got I don't know how a human looking thing.
Thanks for the donation, G-Man.
But yeah, so Hela is Loki's son, and she was supposed to be the guardian of the underworld. So when
Literally hell.
When
No, you're good. You're good.
So basically, the idea was when you died in the Norse mythology, you either went to two places. If you were a warrior and you did great in battle, then you went to Valhalla and hung out with Odin, and y'all drank, y'all partied, y'all got down on some things, y'all had fun. If you were a little punk, because the Vikings didn't like punks. The Norse didn't like it. If you were a little punk, then you went down and you was part of Hela's like little suffering souls, where you had to just. She was like the equivalent of Hades for the Greeks, where you're just there, kind of in an oblivion. But she got to control your soul and control you until Ragnarok happens. Now, when Ragnarok happens, everybody gets destroyed, all souls go away, and a new birth of gods that they got nothing to do with the old gods is then created. So they all kind of die and go into an oblivion after that part. But I mean, that's basically like a short idea of Hela. I mean, but there was like multiple stories that there was kind of like with the Egyptians, you got Bast, but you also and Bast got multiple stories depending on if she's Upper Egypt or Lower Egypt. Mm-hmm. So depending upon the time frame of the Norse gods, you got different stories with Hela. But that's her primary story and her primary job. But she's very instrumental in destroying all the Norse gods, so that a rebirth of gods can happen. Now, what's interesting is that Odin.
Thank you very much, Young Yoda. I was thanking Young Yoda for her donation. Forgive me.
What's interesting is that Odin has some similarities of a Jesus story as well, because he had to sacrifice himself and hang himself on the tree in order for him to take on the pressures of man and understand man. And then when he wanted some more wisdom, he had to have one. That's why he got the one eye, because he gave up. He was ready to sacrifice his eye for more wisdom. So he has some Jesus similarities with Odin, the Allfather, as well, And then he goes and when he needs to regenerate, he goes into his Odin sleep, which he sleeps for a little while, and then he comes back resurrected. And he does that. I think it's like every millennia he does. He goes through an Odin sleep time frame. So it's a little something. But if you have something specific, I'll answer that too.
Absolutely. Well, I think he knows you know about it. I'm seeing in the comments people are talking to G-Man. It appears that he wants to debate. G-Man,
yeah,
actually, you noticed that as well. Okay, G-Man, I actually do not debate. In tonight's show, obviously, you see the topic at hand. We're discussing walking away from religion and what we're experiencing after the fact. You have many weeks to come on here if you want to and prove that Jesus exists. I wouldn't mind that. So, if you have the proof that Jesus exists or that the Bible was inspired by a God, any God for that matter, I wouldn't care. If you can prove that the Bible was inspired by a God, we can all have a standpoint of where you're coming from. If you're coming, however, to just spew off scriptures, I can get a Muslim to come and spew off scriptures of the Quran. You understand? I would like to see how you're different whenever you do come. Please make sure you're prepared and you can offer some actual fact or proof to stabilize your beliefs, and maybe we can see where you're coming from. But if you're going to come onto a forum with a lot of non-believers, the same things that you say that work in front of believers, it just doesn't work. Okay, so we're already standing at a critical standpoint of what you're going to say, so it's not going to go over well for you. And I know what will happen. The comments are not going to go into your favor, aside from the 2 or 3 people who subscribe to your belief, because they're going to support you regardless. Okay. But what we're looking for is proof and facts. If you do not have those things, you are wasting your time. I saw you say, repent and come back to Jesus. Those type of comments are literally a waste of your time. You'd be better off in some corner praying, okay? You saying that is not going to make anybody do anything. I'm just honest. I'm just being honest with you. These people are not babes in Christ. And there's nothing you're going to say to scare them. Trust me. You believe in a Jesus or a God who is supposed to really exist. And we've been trying to get this dude to talk to us forever. And if you think at some point you're going to type something to make us really realize he was there this entire time that we can't find him, you're wrong and you're arrogant if you think that. So please come with proof, something that can compel us to, see the things differently. But we've tried to find this Jesus. We've prayed to him for many years. And this is why we are standing where we stand now. We realize that he doesn't answer prayers the way we were taught. He doesn't exist or act the way we were taught. So we wanted to find him in the realm of fact, in reality, and we realized he couldn't be found. So that's just how it goes. So I just wanted to say that to you, G, man. I'm not avoiding you. I do see a lot of your comments, frankly. But
Can I add?
Yeah, absolutely. Do your thing.
Because I didn't see none of his comments because I was running my mouth. But just based on what you're saying, Kev.
Yes, sir.
When you come with proof, I'm gonna just give you a head start. If you come claiming Josephus, I'll show you how Josephus, what they claim was him writing about Jesus, was a forgery. If you talk about Tacitus or the younger, I will show you how that their information is flawed. If you don't know nothing about Vespasian and Philo of Alexander, you're going to lose. You better understand Ptolemy and Serapis before you come and speak. And if all you got is the Bible, that's not going to work. The Dead Sea Scrolls does not validate your Bible because it has so many things that goes against your Bible. You can't come with King James because when we take that to the Codex Sinaiticus, you're going to lose in that one. There's nothing in Egypt or historically in that area called the Middle East that's going to support it archaeologically. So I don't know where you're going to get your info from. But I just want to give you a little head start. I'm not going to tell you everything. I got to save some stuff just in case. But you definitely have a good historical understanding of all of that and all the time frames and the culture. Oh, you best know the culture. You definitely need to understand the culture of that time.
Absolutely.
Before you say it. And don't come with people who wrote stuff in the 1800s and all that kind of stuff. And please don't come with scholarship because all you're talking about is people who repeated what somebody else wrote, what somebody else said. All right? Instead of people who actually thought for themselves. So please, because I'm sick of these people who want to come on here, and I know this is Kevin's show, but I'm just going to say,
do your thing, brother.
I'm sick of people who come on here and all they talking about they got receipts, and the only receipt you got is a Bible that is incredibly flawed, that has books taken out. Oh yeah, if you don't know about your own history of the book, definitely don't come on and talk about that. And please don't try to say that all we know is about the Council of Nicaea, because then we can talk about the Council of Thessalonica and the Council of Laodicea. I just go there and skip Nicaea. So please, I would love for somebody who actually got something to say instead of just, we got proof of Jesus and the Bible is all we need. Because if the Bible is all you need, then the Quran is all a Muslim need. The Vedic is all a Hindu need. The Bhagavad Gita is all a Buddhist need. So I need you to come with something. And don't go into science. If you go science,
you did.
It's over, bro. It's over.
It's absolutely over. You better not try to come with science. And another thing is assertions. Keep those to yourself. When you come on the platform, man, I'm going to get to a point to where if people start off with assertions during them talking, I'm just going to hang up on them, right? People like to say, where did you study? What church did you go to? These things are irrelevant when it comes to proving your God exists. You understand that if I never existed, okay, there would be people who say that your God doesn't exist, right? There's a brother, I think like his name's Ray Hagins. He's been teaching this stuff for like 20 or 30 years, and he is a scholar, okay? So he went through probably more school than you did, or your age for that matter. I don't know how old you are, but Ray Hagins probably got almost more school than I am alive, okay? And he don't believe in it either. So, but please understand that there are tons of, again, man, there's tons of people out here who has gone through all of the schooling and only found that they were being manipulated. Okay, so this is kind of how it works. If you're going to try to prove your God exists, here's a simple thing. You believe that your God still exists today, but you're trying to pull up literature from DC to prove that your God exists today, like actually alive right now, can hear us talking. But you have to try to pull up some literature that somebody wrote 2,000 years ago to speak to your God's existence. That's got to be outside the norm for you guys. Thank you very much, Bobby Gilner. So I wanted to try to And someone says Ray Hagan's a psychologist. Yeah, sure. I don't understand what that means. Is that an insult? I mean, I don't understand.
You know what that is, Kevin? You know what that is? And especially with people who grew up in Western cultures,
Mm-hmm.
we have this idea that if somebody goes and get a PhD,
Mm-hmm.
then that validates them. That makes them an authority.
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
When that person went to a place that already had a preset and predetermined landing point for them to be able to get that piece of paper.
Yeah, you went to be a preacher. Yeah.
All it means is that you wrote a dissertation that pretty much agreed with whatever has been said before. And most of them who are coming from a religious background, because I can find you a PhD who's a Muslim, and that PhD that dude wrote a dissertation on Islam that agrees with Islam, that historically in their minds validate Islam. There is no difference in that than a PhD who is Christian or I saw my little rabbi guy again today, that is Hebrew. It doesn't matter. What really matters is what you actually have, what actually is provable. And the fact of the matter is, all these books show inconsistency. When you can find a book that has no inconsistencies, no historical inconsistencies, where there weren't changes made to it, where governments didn't make changes, where those in charge at the Vatican and whomever, and it amazed me that people want to separate it from the Vatican when they wrote the books for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot show that. It's an impossibility for you to show a book, any of these historical documents that are not broken, that don't have books taken in and taken out, that hasn't changed the wording, because you talked about word spelling earlier. If you just restructure a sentence, it changes the entire meaning.
Absolutely.
Of the sentence. So you cannot show me that, because all these PhDs in truth don't mean a damn thing.
Absolutely.
The fact that you don't for yourself, that shows me something. When you look at nature and you see that the Sphinx has been here longer than the existence of your book. When you look, matter of fact, if we're going to talk about documentation, because I like how people say, well, the Bible has over 5,000 manuscripts that shows you it's about. Well, the Sumerian story has 200,000. So according to that logic, then the Sumerian story should be more valid than the Bible, to which it was also written about 8,000 years prior to it.
I love when they say
have more validity.
Right. I love when they say that Islam is younger than Christianity, so Christianity real because it's older than Islam. And I'll be like, well, Hinduism was 3,000 years older than Christianity. What say you about that? You know. And they're like, the devil put that here 3,000 years before. Okay, bro. Okay, I'm done.
In the Hindu story, they talk about a war of the gods in heaven.
Right.
Sounds like the angels fighting in heaven. Right? Except they have those spaceship chariots, when you look at it.
Right.
I'm just saying, their story is older, and their story conforms to the Sumerian story.
Absolutely.
That's why every time I talk to these people, I'm like, let's go to the Sumerians then. The Sumerian told your story before you did, just gave greater detail. You don't like it because they talk about aliens, basically. They're coming from another planet, but they're telling the same story. They got Adam and Eve. They got Cain and Abel. They just call them Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds so how hard of a stretch is that?
Like, it's not even that much of a stretch.
The Sumerians call them Cain and Abel, and then the Christian is Cain and Abel. You ain't even trying.
They ain't even trying.
Listen, man. Look, Jacob saw a ladder to heaven and called the place pineal or pineal, right? It's so close to pineal gland. If you say Jacob called the place pineal or pineal, they'll say that's a different word though. The E is different. Like, dude, please stop. Like, you see what I'm saying? Thank you very much, Rolling Thunder. And somebody said a while ago that Ray Hagan is a psychologist, not a historian. So therefore, this must mean that you can't listen to nothing he says, according to their logic. But here's my thing. Which preacher out here is a historian? These people got their own churches teaching that Jesus existed in the realm of reality, and they're not historians, but you're not speaking against them. Are you even a historian? Like, the person who typed that is trying to say Jesus exists. Are you a historian? Why should we listen to you? You see what I'm saying? You don't know either, apparently. You got to be a historian now to know Jesus exists. I thought Jesus chose prophets, and I didn't know he chose historians. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Why Jesus asked?
Exactly. And then like you just said, how many of these people, you get me all heated up, bro. How many people have been to these seminaries actually study the history for themselves? Like, there's so many times where I've been in conversation with these people, and I mean to call them these people today, that I've been in conversation with them. And I'm like, okay, I spent 8 weeks in Israel just to study. When did you go to see it for yourself?
Absolutely.
Because you can't tell me these things, but I've been over there and I saw it. You know, I spent a month in Egypt studying. Did you go? When you over there, have you been to the temples at Karnak? Because I have. Have you been? You know, I've been to the Vatican. And like I told Kevin, I had to wait 7 years just to get into the Vatican Library. But I've been there. I walked around. I saw all the symbols. I see all the pagan symbols around now. I see them obelisks and all that kind of stuff. Have you been there? Have you seen it? Have you been to all? I've been to the Isle of Patmos. I've been to all these places. You ain't been to none of them, but yet you trying to tell me about them.
Right.
And you have no physical reference of it.
Thank you very much.
And then I've seen the old documents. You know what I'm saying? I've seen these old documents that were written down. And you see that you don't even have complete versions of none of these books. None of them are completed. So if they were the written word of God, why would he give them incomplete books? And if the books were incompleted, who completed them? And then if they're called the Puellum that helped them to complete it, a book that helped you to complete it should be a book in your Bible. Because why would you leave it out?
Absolutely. Someone says Jesus didn't choose prophets. He spoke to them. Is Jesus not God? Don't y'all believe in the same thing? I don't want to be saying, misquoting your Bible here. When I say Jesus chose prophets, I thought Jesus and God was the same person. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is Jesus not the Son of God, or is Jesus not God in the flesh? So Jesus is God, right? So does not God choose prophets? I mean, that's what I thought, right? Jesus is known for being a prophet. You know, Elijah, Ezekiel, a lot of prophets. What's his name? A man who they call Baldy, Elijah. You know, he was a prophet, and apparently he didn't like being called bald. You know, it's crazy because people say, Kevin, you have no argument to discredit Jesus. What they don't understand is I don't need one. Like, I don't need an argument to discredit Barney, right? Barney is a dinosaur, okay, who tells you to love each other. I have every right to like Barney, right? He says, I love you, you love me. He's the color of your crown chakra, which is representation of being enlightened and seeing the world through the eyes of love. But Barney never existed, you know, and a child who loves Barney might not like me saying that, but it's a simple fact. And I don't need an argument to prove Barney didn't exist. The people who believe in Barney would have to prove their argument, because they're the ones who supporting the belief in Barney and supporting that he actually exists. The burden of proof is not on me. We stand in the place where we stand because there is simply no evidence convincing enough for us to invest our belief in. You guys should consider that whenever you come up with all of your assertions that, hey, maybe these people are not so bad. They're not out here killing people, right? They are simply in a place to where they do not see the validity in the Bible that you believe in, that you accepted prematurely. And one day you may actually get to that point. So you probably want to hold back on your insults and just keep it about the information. We don't need to be at war with each other, right? We just need to look at this information and see, is it the word of God? And if it is, we'll all accept it as such. And if it is not, let's do with it what deserves to be done with something that people think is the word of God that is not. You know, let's do away with it. I mean, or read it the way it should be read. I mean, I don't really care what you do with it, you know, but believing in it as true, if this person didn't exist, is definitely counterproductive to your mental freedom. So that would be the goal. Someone says, Kevin, what's the end game? Listen, whenever someone's showing you the truth, your question shouldn't be, what's the end game? You understand? Like, this is saying that, okay, unless I know where you're taking us, I don't even want to listen. Regardless of what you're thinking, Jesus never existed in the realm of reality. You can accept that or not. Depending on me to take you somewhere else after that, it just speaks to you being needed to be led. You're still a sheep, and that's a sheep's mentality. Where do we go from here? Where are you going to take me to? That's all I hear. What you don't understand is a sheep is safer in the woods, not with a shepherd, because a shepherd is only going to use that sheep to benefit himself. Shepherds don't get sheep so they can roll around in the garden and have fun with them like they're pets. Shepherds own sheep because that's their business. When it comes time to harvest that sheep for food, they're going to kill that sheep and eat it and get nutrients off of that sheep. When it gets cold, they're going to shave this sheep, right? Make him naked and sell the wool to other people to be warm with this sheep's clothing on. This sheep's now wool on its back. A sheep is a commodity for you. So why are you looking to be a commodity for someone else? You don't need to say, where do we go from here? Say, look, I understand that it's difficult. And when you spent your entire life going off of a navigation system, I can understand when it gets turned off, you feel lost and want to pull over and ask another man for directions. What we're saying to you, though, is when you understand this information, you're probably going to have to do some research to even get to the conclusion that this person never existed. So what you can do from there is, once you get to this place to where you understand that these people never existed, you can lead yourself. You no longer need an outside source telling you where to go. You see what I'm saying? It's just that simple. And no one is playing a victim. We obviously know that people like to insult people who don't agree with them, right? This is not something I'm making up. And frankly, I'd never played a victim because I don't care what y'all say. Like, the one thing you guys have to understand is I do not lose sleep over y'all comments. If I did that, I wouldn't even be doing what I'm doing, because every time I turn on my phone or look into my phone, there's something negative being said about me. Do you really think that I'm still to a point to where I let this kind of stuff bother me? I cannot do that. I would be silly to do that. I can't change you guys. I cannot make you guys agree with me, and I cannot make you stop insulting. I can block you, but what you do after that is on your own. You can create whatever pages that you want to. I have no control over you. Okay, so I would be silly to even care what you do. I don't. I do not care. You can say what you want. And I know that sounds crazy. You don't care what we say to you? No, I don't. I know you guys operate like that. You care what people think about you and what they say to you. But I did a lot of meditating. Lorenzo, I remember like 2 years ago, I used to care. I really used to care what people thought of me. So much so, I would try to appease people who didn't like me. Honestly, I worked new jobs, and before I could even speak to anybody, they already had it made up in their mind they didn't like me. He full of himself. He think he all of that. I ain't even said a word to nobody yet, right? And my whole thing would be like, why don't you like me? And I would try to do things to make these people, like literally try to do things to make people like me. And what I found is it doesn't work. They're just going to not like you more, right? Now they don't like you because you're trying to be liked, right? Like, I would have to try to be like if y'all give me the freaking benefit of the doubt. So one day, honestly, I sit there and thought to myself, I'm going to stop caring. I cannot make them like me. So my only way of clearing my mind and not having to worry about these people, because I would go home with them on my mind. Like, I'm driving home. I done clocked out from work. I'm supposed to be off enjoying my children. And now I'm thinking about what these people done said about me or did to me at work, right? I needed to be free from that. And if my freedom was making these people like me, that's not true freedom, because everywhere I go, somebody ain't going to like me, right? So I literally had to decide, Lorenzo, in my own head that it was New Year's Eve, or what we call New Year's Eve. And I said, I'm not going to go into this new year caring about what people think. I literally woke up the next morning just not giving a D. Like, I really don't care what people think and what they say.
And you know what's funny about that? Because it kind of speaks to the whole what's your end game and that sort of thing, because that's a little trap thing that people try to put on you.
Right.
By saying what's your end game, it presupposes that there's either heaven or hell, that you only have two choices. And it's only the two choices that they've decided exist. Mm-hmm. And I understand what I'm saying. That they have decided that exists. It's just even in your statement of you don't care. It doesn't bother you what other people are saying. In their mind, it goes this way. If you speak about it, then you care what they say.
Right.
If you didn't speak about it, then you don't care what they say.
Right.
Not that there could be another option, that you speak about it because, let me use the terminology they would like to say, because it's been impressed on your heart of your mission, your calling is to help other people come into a level of consciousness to the point where their end game is that they decide where they go. They decide what happens to their consciousness. Because now, you know, I study hermeneutics. Mm-hmm. When you study hermeneutics, in the hermetic, in the law of mentalism, it talks about the fact that there is a elemental mind, a plant mind, an animal mind, the human mind, and the spirit mind. Mm-hmm. In the same way, a Christian can say there's Jacob's ladder that had different levels of heaven. A Muslim can say that there are different levels of heaven because they teach that in Islam as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the Hermetics is saying that there are different consciousnesses. So if minerals have a consciousness, it's not to the point where we can communicate with it in verbal language, but minerals have shown an attitude of attraction and repelling, the same way we show attitudes of attracting and repelling. We see the animal mind in animals that people domesticate compared to animals that are in the wild. We see the animal mind. We talk about the intelligence and the way other animals communicate and show emotion. So there's an animal mind. Above the human mind is the spirit mind, right? So maybe the end game is not just heaven and hell, but they leave out the possibility that the end game is your mind either ascends or descends. Your consciousness ascends or descends based on what you feed it in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a possibility. Not saying it's a definite, but it's a possibility. But the question, their question tries to trap you into thinking that there's one or the other. Because Kevin, if you're not leading us to the heaven of the Bible, then you must be leading us to the hell of the Bible.
Absolutely.
Not that you could be leading us to just another conscious state. You could just be leading people to a conscious state that is on the level of Buddha right now. And when you get there, guess what you're going to have? Good people, bad people. It's trials, tribulations. Good things happen, bad things happen. You just at another conscious level. But it's the same thing.
True.
Because you're still going to have the polarity of good and evil. You're still going to have the polarity of change. You're going to still have change. You're going to have higher vibrations and lower vibrations, which we all understand that frequency determines your condition of your consciousness. And science has shown that when the body dies and when the brain becomes rotting meat, that there is an energy that leaves the body because the body loses about 30 pounds of energy as soon as it dies. So something goes somewhere. Nobody has proof of where it goes. Nobody's ever going to have proof of where it goes.
That's wild. I didn't know that. I did not know that. That's wild.
But the fact is, they try to trap you into that it can only be our option. Mm-hmm. Just like I can't remember all the L's, but it's either it's a lie or it's another L and another L, but they leave out the option of it just being a legend. That there is another option that it could be. And for what we do, I speak because my goal is to help people develop who they are. Plain and simple. Now, if you don't want to, if you don't like it, I don't care. And I get so many comments from people who just want to blast me on stuff, especially the ones who write in all capitals. I never read those. That just irritates the hell out of me.
Right.
But I don't even read them, and I don't care. Now, I read the stuff when people who are of like mind, I read their stuff. I like their stuff. I might comment on their stuff. Some of the ones who may post something that's interesting and who might be against me, it's interesting. It sparked a thought, but usually it sparked a thought that made me think deeper about my own stuff. So I may comment on that. But the endless loops of conversation, I have no time for that. I have none whatsoever. And then they're so caught up into this, they can't even see that they're creating a hell on earth for themselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the condition of black people in America. And look at who's been the forerunner over the last 50 years of creating the condition of black people in America. It's the religious organizations that has been sucking the black organizations
Absolutely.
dry.
Thank you very much.
That has not had the black understanding how to build economics in their own community. How many black people going to church every week, and if they learn about finances every week, they learn how to support businesses in their community, in their church every week, that then they will start buying the homes in their community. Then they'll be able to control the schools in their community. Then they'll be able to control the police in their community. And then they'll control the politicians in their community. Hell, they'll be living in heaven then. Because their neighborhoods would be nicer. Their kids wouldn't be stressed about their kids. Because even though people in Atlanta used to pick on me because I lived in the north side, but guess what? I knew every cop in Marietta. Every cop knew my family. If I did something wrong, I wasn't worried about the cop. I was mad because I used to beg the cop, take me to jail. Please don't take me home to my grandfather because I don't want to see him. Mm-hmm. And that's how it was. You weren't afraid of them because we controlled the economics in that community back then. But now, all that's gone. All of it's gone for the most part. And we let that go. And that's not because of the man, nothing like that. That's because we let it go. We let our power go.
Thank you very much.
And
Jeff.
we got religious organizations that's telling us just be humble, just be sheep, just wait for later on in life, just keep praying for manna to fall from the sky, instead of teaching people how to build for themselves, how to create for themselves, and how to make heaven on earth, instead of trying to wait for it, and how to develop your consciousness and think for yourself, and stop allowing other people to control your thoughts, and stop saying what Pastor said, and Deacon Jones said, and my imam said, and them crazy jokers standing on the corner yelling out they Deuteronomy 23 said. Get out of that mindset.
Right.
That's the end game. But all of those who keep asking the end game, that's the end game.
And I want to say this right here too. Someone said that they have 3 arguments that I guess would confuse me or blow my mind or make me believe in Jesus. I mean, I don't know, but said he had 3 arguments, and my whole point is why I have 3 arguments that you won't be able to deal with is what he said. Why would you need an argument to prove your Jesus is real, your God is real? You know, I guarantee you these arguments are attempt to prove that there is a God or a creator, but none of these arguments are going to point to why you think your God told someone to write the Bible, right? You can't use like things like, well, how did you get here to make your God that you think inspired your Bible be the person who exists? Because saying that, well, you had to be created, well, then how you know Allah didn't create everybody? How do you know Krishna didn't or Vishnu didn't? How do you know it's your particular God? You can't use this type of logic to make it mean your God that you have subscribed to is real now. Like, period. You can't do that. So what is my end game? What is yours? You can take all these people that you think you're taking to heaven, and you could die and end up in Allah's hell because he was the real God. How do you know he isn't? If you haven't studied it, you can't prove Allah didn't exist. Have you done the amount of work that it takes to prove Allah didn't exist? Think about this, okay? The fact is this. Allah or Islam has scholars as well, just like Christianity has scholars. They have historians as well, just like Christianity does. You can't put all of this faith into your religion and say, well, it's because they have scholars and other religions have scholars, okay? You can look it up. Hinduism has scholars. So what does that say? And their religion is 3,000 years older. So it's really that simple, guys. It's really that simple. You cannot say I'm giving more credit to my belief because my belief has scholars, but other religions do too. All right, they have scholars. All right, so like scholars, like spelled the same way, everything. Absolutely. They ain't just nobody. They study their belief and they feel like they have solid information as to why they believe. Right. So it's just that simple. Thank you very much, Shay Stephen. So Tina, whenever you're doing your videos and things like, are you used to this type of treatment on yours where people comment on it and just ramble off things like that? You used to that?
Yeah, definitely. So the thing with me is, I'm sorry, my dogs are in the background playing.
Right.
I'm about to smack them. So the thing with me is that I don't have as much knowledge as you guys do. That's why I'm quiet, because I'm still so new to this. I'm just now starting to research these things.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I do know, while I'm listening, so many things you're both saying make so much sense. One thing I definitely do know for sure is that I feel religion separates people. It makes people who still follow Christianity seem to have this thinking like they know everything. And I don't want to speak against every Christian in the world. I want anyone to get offended, but I feel like so many Christians, especially when they come on my channel, and it irritates the hell out of me. They come on there saying, oh, well, here's my proof. Just read Exodus, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're not understanding when I'm making these videos. I literally just said, I don't believe that the Bible is real. I never said I don't believe it ever existed. Just because it existed doesn't mean that what was in there, all those stories, all the things were told from God himself. I don't believe that. If you could prove to me that God sat there and said, listen, I want you people to write this, and this is what my commandments are. Unless there's a way, you can show me that.
Right.
It's hard for me to say, yeah, you're right. I can understand, I just did a video about this recently. can understand where Christians are coming from, because it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. Like, they think in this one dimension, so they go off of faith. Like, I had this conversation with my husband just the other day. He was like, well, you're going off of logic, but my proof is faith. And I'm like, but that's not really proof. That's just you believing in something.
That's lack of proof.
Now, yeah, and that's not evidence. Like, people are like, oh, watch this video. Like, I'll have people come on my channel and they'll say, oh, watch this video, watch that video. And I'm looking at the video and all it's doing is talking about why you should have faith or else you're going to go to hell. But I feel like a lot of Christians don't understand that a lot of these things they say is pushing other people further away from wanting to be a part of your religion. Like this guy here that's like, he's been dying to have a debate with you. And honestly, I think he just wants to stand up for what he believes in. I get it, But one thing that it just really irritates me is when people go on the videos and tell you a crap load of scriptures. First of all, I'm not going to read all that. That's way too much to read. That's a long several paragraphs. Right. It's nothing but Bible scriptures. I haven't read the Bible in like 3 years. I have a bad experience from my past, so because of that, I don't even like the Bible. Mm-hmm. At this point, if I want to read it, I'll read it because I want to know about it. Like right now, I'm starting to learn to read it from front to back.
Sure.
But when it comes to reading it because I have to do this to get to heaven, to get close to the God, it sounds, I'm going to be honest, it's starting to sound more and more ridiculous to me. I get a lot of people that tell me that I actually had one person tell me, I was like, what is that again? A sheep in wolf's clothing? Or is that how you say it? Yeah. I'm like, well, first of all, I had another person even say, I had another person say to me, actually, you're leading people astray. You're not a real Christian. And I'm like, I never said I was one to begin with. Like, I don't come on here saying, hey, look at me, I'm a real Christian, but this, and that. No, like I say, listen, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. I'm straight with it. I'm not trying to front for anyone. It's just that I honestly think what it is that other Christians that go so hard for their religion, they are uncomfortable with the fact that people like you and Renz and even me come on here and say, I don't think this stuff is real. They're uncomfortable and they need to make themselves comfortable. It's more for them. It's not for you. It's more so they can feel like, no, this is real. Kevin don't know what he's talking about. Let me debate him. Let me prove it. Right. Are you proving it to Kevin or are you proving it to yourself?
Right.
Honestly, you know what I'm saying? So,
it's funny, Tina, because they say, Kevin, you playing a victim, when in reality, Christians play the biggest victims. Like, how weak are Christians, right? For you to do a video and someone say you're leading them astray, so you just think all Christians is dumb. Like, they just gonna follow you to the abyss. It's like, you're your own man. Do your own. Don't let anybody lead you astray. Like, if whatever I'm saying, you better research behind me. Like, that's the simple facts. I'm not trying to lead anybody astray, but they try to make it seem like Christians are just so mentally weak that they like lemmings. They just gonna walk off the cliff because you did it. God gonna hold you accountable for deceiving the sheep. Okay, bro.
It's crazy. I mean, I see he's getting butthurt. Some of his comments got deleted. I get it, but deal with it. Like, if you're gonna come on this type of channel, obviously it's not gonna be a Sunday service. People aren't gonna come on here preaching, oh, hallelujah, yeah, no, that's not what it's for.
No.
If you want that, then I tell people on my channel all the time, I'm like, look, I welcome anyone. You can say whatever you want as long as you're not disrespectful, because then I delete it. If you want to put your Bible verses, I'm not going to read it, but put it up for yourself if that makes you feel better. Mm-hmm. But I always tell people, YouTube is a huge space. Go somewhere else with that. Go somewhere else. Go onto someone's channel that is all about God. Because I honestly feel like the problem with religion is that a lot of people are just so into it that they feel like either you believe in only this or that's it. You can't believe in anything else. You're wrong. You're a sinner. And I'm getting tired of it. It's so one-sided. And I I chose to remove myself from religion because I don't want to be that person anymore that's like, I have to believe in this, and anyone who doesn't believe in this is wrong. So that's why I was like, you know what, let me start researching and doing my own thing and seeing. And the more I find, it's hard for me to say I go off of faith. It's hard for me to say that because the more that I watch videos, the more I'm reading, the more I'm like, damn, like I can't argue. That makes sense.
Right.
It makes sense.
It's like the more you realize that there is no need for faith, and to apply faith is simply you wanting to believe in something. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a guy who did a video, and he's like, he's warning people about, ex-pastors, because there seems to be an epidemic of people who used to pastor and they're walking away from the church. During his video, he says that these ex-pastors are attempting to, teach and accept donations because their rap careers are failing. Now, I don't know, but I know he's talking about me. You know what I mean? But the fact is this, though. Like, again, I don't get mad. I think this stuff is hilarious. My rap career is not failing. My rap career is non-existing. I don't have one. I would like to have one. I would like people to buy my CD, but it's just a fact. My CD ain't even really out like that. I'm copywriting everything. You see what I'm saying? But it's like he was like, to make up for his failing rap career. It's like, why you even got to go there? Like, why you got to hit the heart? Just talk about your information. And the funny thing is, this guy's had like 3 actually telephone conversations with me. And so he's asking, okay, where is this man's credentials, right? Is he really a pastor, right? And these are the questions that he's asking. And during the conversations that we've had on the phone, I've expressed to him why I don't say which church that I went to, number one. I also expressed to him that I've never said I was a pastor. When my video went viral, people shared this video and typed ex-pastor leaves the church, says he can't teach a lot of black people anymore. I was a youth pastor, associate pastor, been in ministry for like maybe 16, 18 years. So yeah, I was in ministry, but I never actually technically owned my own church, right? I woke up before that. Now, people say give back tithe money. I never accepted a tithe. I never had my own church, But then they say stuff like, in this video, he goes, I want to know what church you pastored. And then he says, I want to know if he was called. Now, here's the thing. If I follow your breadcrumbs and I present to you my credentials, now you're just going to say I wasn't called. I can't win with you guys, And here's the thing. Another guy who put the post up saying that, of course, we're wolves in sheep's clothing. I expressed to him then, listen, man, I've never said I was a pastor. Like, I was a youth pastor. I was ordained at like 25, preached up until I was like 30 years old. So yeah, I've been in the church, but I never technically had my own church. This dude, of course, I guess he was just trying to coax me to say something, because now there's a meme of me commenting that I actually was never a pastor. And then on the actual meme, it says, if he'll lie about that, what else would he lie about? Like, frankly, I'm not lying. I'm telling you, I was never a pastor. So I don't understand what you mean I'm lying. What else am I lying about? I could be literally saying I was a pastor, I had my own church, but I'm not. It's not necessary. I don't need to have been a pastor and had my own church to have the information that I have. You see what I'm saying? To have done the studies that I did, to have the desire to get to know this Jesus in the desire and capacity that I had to get to know him, which caused me to try to find this person outside of the Bible and then get my face broke because he wasn't there. What they don't understand is I've went through the pain of Jesus not existing. I'm not here like saying, hey guys, it's fantastic this dude never existed. No, it broke my heart. I needed this dude to be real as much as they did, or they do, because I invested the same energy, the same time into my prayer life, thinking that this stuff was getting me closer to a God, right? And so again, we talked about before we even started this show, when I told Crystal that, there are people that we love dearly who find time to go off and pray to these deities. Like, they literally pray to these deities and they're not listening. And our world is still in the condition that it's in, and their world is in the condition that it's in. They still struggle, right? They're still trying to get out of it, and they think that they're in a trial. Like Lorenzo said, whenever you raise your enlightenment to that of a Buddha, what you're going to realize is that there's still struggles. These Christians think that they're going to raise themselves up to a point one day where God going to quit and just be nice to them. He's not. This God that you believe in, he plays games. He already knows what you're going to do, but yet he tests you anyway. Like, to think of this, that's just redundant. I talked about this early on a video. If you knew the whole future, Tina, right now, if you knew everything I was about to say to you, you wouldn't want to sit and listen to it because you already know what I'm going to say. Why would you waste your time having someone say everything that you know they're going to say? But we believe that these gods create circumstances for you to pray to them, know exactly what you're going to say, and listen. Right? Like I already know at 2 o'clock today, you're going to be like, Father God, I humbly beseech you in the name of your son. Like, he already know that. Right? He create the circumstances to make you do that. He oh, come again, you talking to me? Oh, tell me all about it. My answer is no, but you can have this hour-long prayer if you want to. Right? To think that an energy or a God, all-knowing, loving God, would think that way, just wasting people's time, wasting his own time. All these people on the planet praying to you, and you already know what all of them going to say, and yet you take the time to listen to all of them. You know you could get a whole lot more done if you didn't do that. That's probably why children starving in all these places, because he's too busy listening to people's prayers about cars. You know, I really hope that wasn't my tire that popped. Father God, I really hope I get to work safe. You saying this while people starving to death, like you're selfish as crap, right? That's why I say my prayer to God before I woke up was don't do anything else for me. Like completely don't worry about me because I live in a first world country where I can go out and make a living. This world is not the way I want it to be, right? I feel fear when I see an officer and I'm driving my car. I feel more fear when I get pulled over. Just honestly, I do because I know what I look like and I know I'm probably potentially going to have to deal with somebody who sees me a certain way because of what I look like. And that person got a freaking gun and the authority and a license to kill me, right? And can say anything. I thought he had a weapon. Yeah, of course, there's fear going to raise up in me. Right? But I know I live in that world. But even with that, I said, you know what? At least I don't have to walk 6 miles for dirty water every day. Right? At least I don't have to worry about my children dying before me with a belly swollen from hunger. Right? At least I don't have to worry about these things. So God, with all due respect, don't listen to, I'm not praying to you anymore. Man, just please worry. My last prayer is that you go do something about that. Right? And if these gods existed because I know I'm not the only person who's asked God to feed starving people, right? But we believe if two or more join together, then he's there in the midst, right? This is what we believe. My pastor was prophesied to that he was going to live and not die. That joker died. Okay, he meant the world to me. That prophet came in there and had my whole church running around the church in circles, thinking that my pastor was going to live and not die. He didn't even make it a month after that. It's like they came and gave him a death sentence. Like that's really what it seemed like he was making it until that dude said that. Now all of a sudden, pastor dead, and he don't come back to our church and prophesy no more because everybody now know that he a daggum liar because he went out of his way to call our pastor up and say, the Lord has showed me you being here 10 years from now. Really? But he died a month later, right? And why would God show you anything about my pastor when there's people starving to death, right? And it's these type of attitudes when dealing with people's personal religions, like you said, it separates. Because now if you don't believe in what I believe in, you're a bad person. Now, if you're a Christian and don't believe in prophets, you're a bad person. If you're a Christian and believe that you can go to heaven without being baptized, something wrong with you. If you're a Christian and you think you can wear open-toed shoes when your God cares about what your toes look like inside of your footwear, you're a bad person. If you're a woman and you're wearing pants when pants were created to be unisex, but pants is a man's clothing and God cares whether you wear men clothes or not, right? Now you're in sin again. This is all within the confines of Christianity. This ain't even another religion yet. And they separate their churches by title, evangelist, Baptist, Episcopalian, Presbyterian, all these things based on their sector of beliefs, right? Religion most definitely separates. Christians are even separated within their own religion. We're not even talking about Islam and other actual beliefs, you see. And so what Tina said is 100% fact. She was in a Christian cult who taught different things from other Christian cults. Think of the logic of that. Just think of the logic of that. Why would a God allow that? If there was really a God over this religion, that God would make sure to regulate it to the point to where it did not get skewed like that, just based on a person's perception or a person's interpretation of a scripture. You got whole religions being created. Where is God during this time? We asked where was Jesus during slavery, but where was Jesus when the Jehovah's Witnesses religion was created? Where was he then? Because he sure enough let it happen. You see what I'm saying? And then then to think that this all-knowing God who is incapable of being deceived would judge you for being deceived. Just think about that. You have to believe in me but I know everything. So this God that you're supposed to believe in doesn't even operate within the realm of belief because it knows everything, but will require you to believe something that you don't know or have proof of, or go to hell. It's clear that this is made up by people because our all-knowing, all-loving God just would not think that way, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, there's just too many contradictions and there's too many questions and too many things that don't make sense. Like, people say, God knows or Jesus knows everything before it happens. He knows every hair on your head. And I'm like, but then if he knows, what's the point of a baby being born just to die? Or a child being born to live for 4 years and die from leukemia? I don't understand these things, and not necessarily that I'm saying I have to have the answer to everything, but the fact that there's too many things that make no sense makes it hard for me to continue to subscribe to that belief.
Right.
And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like people who believe these things, they're afraid to question. They say you shouldn't question. I used to be told not to question. I questioned things when I was younger. I'll say, well, how come this and how come that? And people will say, well, you shouldn't question God. It's not good to question God. God forbid we question God. But there's just too many things that don't make sense. And I honestly, I haven't prayed in like almost like 3 years, of the same amount of time that I haven't read the Bible.
Right.
Because I feel like prayer for me is not what it used to be. If I pray for something, if God already made up his mind about it, sometimes I'm like, what's the point of praying? Or there's a shooting, and then like those school shootings that go on, a couple of kids get killed and the rest survive. Is it because the parents prayed that their child would survive, but the other parents prayed and their child still died? Are the other children more valuable? Is their life more, worth living than the others that died? It just doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I get upset when I think about it because this is something I believed my whole life. I definitely believe in some sort of higher power. I don't know what it is. I believe some sort of creator, but do I believe that it's like a person that I have to pray to or even a person at all? Honestly, at this point, I'm not there. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. A lot of Christians hate that. They get so upset when you say this because they don't want other people to listen to you. They don't want other people to subscribe to your channel, but they want to make a channel preaching about all these things and pushing aside all the questions and pushing aside all the things that just don't make no sense. But they don't want anyone to follow you or to listen to you because suddenly you're the bad one. You're wrong. I had someone once tell me, you can stop putting up this charade pretending that you're a good person. No one is good. God doesn't think any of us is good. And I'm like, first of all, it's not a charade. I'm genuinely a pretty good person. I haven't done anything horrible. I'm not perfect, but I'm a good person. And why should I have to put myself down and say, oh, I'm not worthy, God. I'm not good. I'm not worthy of anything. I'm not worthy of your love. Why should I have to keep saying that? Because that puts me down. I feel I'm worthy, but because I say that I believe I'm worthy, because I say that I believe I'm a good person or I'm worth anything, suddenly I'm not being humble. I'm prideful. I'm selfish.
Absolutely.
You're selfish. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's like what Renz was talking about earlier with people. I forgot how he said it, but like he was saying earlier about with people with religion and people don't try to go for more. It's like with religion, you don't want to step outside of that. You don't want to get to know yourself more. You don't want to aim for higher things in life because religion says no, it has to be for God. You want to keep it focused only on God and the Bible. But then people who step out of religion, a lot of times they tend to aim higher. Like I see Lorenzo's videos, he talks about other things. He talks about aiming higher in different things, having a business. I'm all about that. When I was in religion, I thought that was a problem because all my riches are stored in heaven. So why would I try to do that here? And now my mindset is totally different. Like no one can get me out of that. But because I think different, I am told many times that I'm being selfish, and I'm told that, that I'm only worrying about myself. I only care about myself. I'm not putting God first. And this is a problem with religion, and this is why I feel like people who are religious, fine, you want to be religious, go ahead, be religious, but be religious by yourself. Leave the rest of us alone. If we want to come back, we'll do that on our own. We don't need you rubbing it in our face or making us feel like, like we're horrible people because we don't subscribe to your belief anymore.
Or that we don't believe for any other reason that you're making up. Like if we say we don't believe in the literature, they make up reasons. You can clearly say, I don't see the evidence in it. I don't see any evidence to support me continuing to put my belief into it. And they're going to say, well, you just mad. You just mad at God, or you just didn't understand the Bible, or you just was interpreting it wrong, or you had the wrong church that you went to. You church hurt. How you going to make up reasons that I ain't even tell you? I just simply told you there was no proof of the stuff that's it. I believed it until I realized this stuff cannot be proven. I ain't mad at God. I'm not mad at Jesus. I don't believe that they existed. So why would I be? How can I be mad at someone I don't even believe exists? Again, I always say it like that's like me being mad at Spider-Man. That it would be impossible. I don't believe Spider-Man is real. So there would be no way in any situation at all where I would be mad at Spider-Man, right? I might not like a movie that is Spider-Man, or a comic book, or a cartoon even. But I know Spider-Man didn't make the cartoon. You see what I'm saying? So when I talk about how evil the God of the Bible is, I'm not talking about a literal God. I'm not really mad. Like I don't really believe that a God flooded the earth. So when I talk about it, I'm not really saying God wrong, he flooded the earth. I'm saying the literature is showing a God that is evil, right? That's what I'm saying, not that they really exist. But again, you're dealing with people who really do subscribe. So yeah, like you say, anything that I say is going to be taken out of context, and then they have this pride that they can come comment on your video. Like I cannot tell you, I have never in my life I couldn't tell you a Christian YouTube channel right now. Like I really changed my whole world when I walked away from this. So if I were to find a Christian YouTube channel, say TD Jakes or something got a YouTube channel and he's doing a live video, I've never thought in my life to go comment on TD Jakes' live video, like, prove Jesus is real, because I know he's going to ignore mine then, and I'm going to get blocked off. Right. I'm in my own world. Like, I'm doing my thing. I'm trying to teach people the truth. I'm trying to wake people up and show them my journey. And I got people all in my stuff, giving me a hard time.
Exactly. And like, I know that Christians are never going to leave non-Christians alone. Mm-hmm. See, I tell people all the time, if you want to share your belief, fine, go ahead. But if I say, no, I'm good, leave me alone, then just leave me the hell alone.
Absolutely.
Let's fall back. Don't, because the more that you rub it in people's face, the more that you shove the Bible in a person's face, the less they're going to want to listen to you.
Tell them.
Like, if you have so much to prove, first of all, the Bible and your belief should prove itself. Why do you have to go so hard? Just leave me the hell alone. Get off my video. Freaking give me a thumbs down. I don't care. Move on. Like, I don't care. People act like I care. They say the most ridiculous things. I don't get a whole lot of hate comments, but lately, I guess, the more subscribers you get, the more people
are about to get something now. Trust me. They about to find you now.
Oh, you about to get it.
You about to be ready now. You about to be on the next meme. She gonna be on the next meme next. She gonna be a wolf in sheep's clothing. You just wait. I hope you got tough skin.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The thing with me is that I've always been someone who I never like to be looked at in a negative light. Like, this is how I used to be, not anymore. But the way I used to be that type of person. I cared too much what people thought of me. I cared too much what people said about me. Every now and then it might bother me, but then I remember, like, that's their negativity. I don't have to absorb that negative energy because that's not where I am. That's not where my mind is at. That's how you feel about me. That's what you think. All right, move along. We don't need to interact. And sometimes I do worry a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, what if one day my channel gets bigger and then suddenly people are talking about me and people are making me seem like I'm a horrible person. That may happen. But at the same time, either I be real to other people and be true to myself, or I sit here and pretend to be someone who believes something I just don't believe in. You know, and like I said before, I respect what people believe in. I respect if a person's a Christian, like this G-Man guy that keeps on talking crap. Like, you want to believe what you believe it. But leave people alone, you know? Don't harass. Like, I see your Facebook. People go in on you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, damn, Kevin, I hope that's not going to be me one day. Because I'm going to get mad. I'm going to be like, you don't know me. Why are you saying this? I'm a nice person.
You about to be mad. You're going to get what I'm going to term, I'm going to TM this as the Kevin Wesley effect. You know, I got the Oprah effect. This is the Kevin Wesley effect. Because see, last year, I was minding my own business. And I saw Kevin's video, and I wasn't going to say a word. Then I saw all the hate that he was getting. So like a duck, I came out to defend him. And then I saw this other little so-called pastor, street pastor, say some old jacked up wrong historical stuff, and that bothers me. I defended this joker again. Next thing I know, Kevin on his show just like he got you on him. Girl, the hate mail started right after that. All of a sudden, I'm full of the devil, and I've been led astray, and that didn't matter. I've been making videos for 5 years. But all of a sudden, all the hate. So you're going to get some hate. You're going to get a whole lot of hate. But you know what it is?
Some churches too.
Let me tell you a benefit of it, though. Let me tell you a benefit of it. Before I got involved with this hateful, evil young man over there, before I got involved with him, a lot of the books that people ask about and talk about in these chats, I read them 20, 30 years ago. I'm 46. I read them, and I started my journey when I was 9 years old. So I read like the ISIS papers when I was 19 and 20. I don't remember what that book says exactly. I don't even remember the theme of it, but I still have the ideas of it. And there are a lot of other things that I had studied a long time ago, but because I've moved into the hermetics and alchemy and that sort of thing, I don't study them as much. It did make me go back and have to study again. And it also reminded me of a lot of things. So, but for you, it'll be a catalyst that will make you go study some more, go research some more. But it also helps you to open your mind up because you'll see some of these negative, hateful things. You'll see some of these long books that people will try to write on your page. And you'll look at it and you may say, well, you know what? Let me go look at that. Let me go research that. But because your mind is open, you will research it. But you're not. You won't land in the same spot that they're trying to get you to land at. You'll land at a whole new spot. It'll open your mind up to a whole new thing. You'll have new concepts and ideas start firing in your mind. Like Kevin just said something that reminded me of a video I did last week where he said that, there was a war in heaven, right? I want to know that people think they're going to go to heaven and everything's going to be nice and peachy keen, sunshines and rainbows. But last week I talked about in a video how heaven can't be all sunshine and rainbows because there's a war up there. That the devil had free will and a third of the angels walked away, had a fight in heaven. This is supposed to be the place of peace. So evidently, at that realm, according to that book, there's the ability to have strife, to have issue, to disagree. And curious enough, here's an angel and a third of the angels who looked at what's supposed to be God and said, yeah, we don't like you. We don't think that you're the main dude. We think you got some problems and you ain't doing this right. And we're going to go against what you say. You're not sovereign. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. And they had right now they lost the war according to the book. But still, the fact of the matter is that these angelic beings had the option of choosing at that level. And if that's the level that people are trying to get to, then evidently at that level, you have a choice according to their own story. So it's things like that you'll be like, that just doesn't make sense. If it's supposed to be this place of glory, how is there struggle? How is there strife? If it's supposed to be this place of glory, and whether it's metaphoric or not, why is there a tree of life? Why do I need a tree of life that produces fruit 12 times, once a month for all 12 months? Why are there months up there? I thought time ceased to exist at that realm. But all of a sudden there are months. There's fruit that I got to eat in order to stay alive while I'm there. I thought this was supposed to be everlasting life. I still need fruit. So evidently I didn't move into perfection. So your mind will start thinking more. You'll get more synaptics firing. So you're going to get some hate mail. They ain't going to like you. And you can blame Kevin. He can handle it. But it'll actually benefit you more than it hurts you.
The fact is that so many people who were offended, of course, by that video, me walking away from the church and my belief system, that these people honestly just follow me. They watch every show, look for me to say things that they can make a video about and, edit it down to a certain part or whatever. So with anybody who makes an appearance on my show, you're just going to have a trail on you. That's just kind of how it works. You'll be the next name. Tacoma, Cali recently, started doing this about maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. And they're already making memes, of course, with him on it. And they do this stuff with no care that you have a family. They do this stuff with no care in the world that you have children who will see these things, these insulting things about you. They do not care. Like, these people are some of the most disrespectful people on the planet, seem like. When you get them mad, everything goes out the window, and they'll type whatever they want to type about you with no regard that you have children who may actually see it. Like, when I tell you, like, the guy from Battle of the Beards, I saw who he was from watching my son sitting in front of his video crying, trying to type a comment on this dude's page because he's sitting here calling his daddy a closet sodomizer and stupid and all this stuff. You know what I mean? So my little boy now, who ain't even 10 years old, okay, at the time, sitting here trying his best to respond to a grown man and protect his father, hurt literally off of this man's words, what he's saying about his daddy. You see what I'm saying? So, like, again, a guy the other day, he went on my page and took all my pictures off my page in terms of like screenshotting them or whatever and put them on his own page to say that I was gay, which is why I left religion. I left religion because I was gay. And like every post was saying the same thing using my pictures. Like, look at this dude. You can clearly see he's gay. Like, look at his face. He's got a gay face. What? I don't know what that means.
And they tell you to fear God.
Right.
Like, God ain't judging you.
Exactly. And this is what they'll do. They'll do these things because they're mad at you and they want you to feel the pain that they felt when you don't believe in their God or feel the anger they felt. So it's like, I don't even technically have to even counter you back with anything mean. All I have to do is just simply let you be mad. And I'm just going to continue to tell you Jesus didn't exist. Here's another meme about you, Kevin. Doesn't make Jesus exist. Kevin, you're gay. Doesn't make Jesus exist if I were. Kevin, you was never a pastor. Doesn't make Jesus exist if I wasn't. Like, you have to understand that if you're going to tell people Jesus existed, you're going to have to be able to prove it, right? You're going to have to be. Like, we're different now. We're not children that you can utter a couple words to and scare into believing your crap. It's just over. Like Tina says, leave me alone. I'm tired of it, and it doesn't work. Frankly, I don't even read your scriptures. Like she's saying, as soon as you give these guys a meme, they'll say that's a meme. Well, at least my words has a picture with it. You just posted scriptures. At least I'm giving you an image to see something. And the thing about it, they act like memes are just dumb. Like, there's no information on that dang meme. Like, you don't see all this. You don't see Cedric Borgia, okay, with the dates showing how this happened on this meme. You just gonna say the meme is bad. Like, it's silly, it's a meme, but it's like there's a meme that shows like all of the dynasties that have extended libraries past the date of the flood to show that they were never flooded. And when you post this meme, they say, that's just a meme. Look at the dates, man. Like, what's wrong with you? You just want to remain, indoctrinated. Because anytime someone offers any information to you that's contrary, you just want to kick it down and disregard it. Like, you believe in the Bible, which means you believe the whole world flooded. You believe God started off with two people, and the first two people he made a mistake that ended up causing the rest of the people that was made after them to have to suffer from that mistake. And yet you believe your God was all love. And these are your ideas. Like the man said, I can talk to an atheist and get them to, contribute or subscribe to Christianity. Atheists convert to Islam daily as well. There are people who do not believe in religion, who accept religion on a daily basis, not just Christianity. The one thing you have to be acknowledged though is that Christians walk away from Christianity daily, whether it be to the land of no belief or to a different religion. Lorenzo, how many times do we see Christians leave Christianity and go to Islam. Okay, go to Hinduism. They move to India and all of a sudden they Hindus because they realize that the Vedas has more information or more logical information. It makes more sense than the Bible. When they once stood on the outside looking in saying they believe in a lot of gods. Boy, aren't they stupid? Like you believe in a lot of gods too. It's just your 3 gods say they won and you believe it.
You see a ton of them going to, in today's culture with chakras and meditation, you see a lot of Christians, black and white, from America and other places, going to Buddhism and becoming Buddhists. Tons of them. I mean, it was in 91 when I met this black girl in Sicily, and she was Buddhist. Threw me off, because I had never met a black Buddhist before in my life at that time. But then from that moment, I started meeting all these black people, especially women, who were becoming Buddhists in the 90s. And now it's just even more so. So just many people, just as they can say, oh, these people converted, and we're converting people every day, there are people leaving every day. And then a lot of the people in some of these, what they call third world nations, they're being converted because you're saying, hey, if you want to eat, you got to believe in what I tell you to believe in. If you want medicine, you got to believe in what I tell you to believe in. So some people are converting because it's under pressure, it's under duress in order for them to convert, because you want to. How long am I going to watch my child starve before I say, you know what, forget it, man. Yeah, Allah, alaikum salam, brother.
Right.
Give me some peace so we can get this going on.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and just do it.
Absolutely, because you're not going to watch your child suffer. That was great what you just said. You're not going to watch, and that's honestly the reason why a lot of our ancestors accepted this belief. They didn't want their children to suffer. Like if you're a woman, you don't want your son out here telling people that Jesus might not exist. He will get hung for that. He will get killed for that. So to protect your son, you want to make sure he's really good indoctrinated before he leave the house. You want him you need him to believe in it, because you don't want your son stripped from you. It's just a simple fact. This is why a lot of our ancestors took on this information and, of course, continue to teach it because of fear. Fear will make you do some crazy things, man. I mean, again, like Lorenzo said, hey, I would accept the belief in your Allah. I don't believe in hell anyway, so I don't believe even by believing in Allah that I would go to a hell. So, hey, if it means my kid eating, I'll say Allah is real if that's what feeds my child. I mean, that's a logical thing for a parent to do, right?
Right. And if your child's been hearing that and your child's been doing that ever since they were small, then they're going to believe that that's the way it is. Then they're going to teach their children that that's the way it is. And next thing you know, 2-3 generations go by, and it's just what your family does. That's just what your family believes. And how dare you come in and try to say something different or change it? And of course, like you said, then you must be hurt or something like that if you went away from it. Oh, to which I'm gonna have to disagree with you on one thing, Kevin. Where you said that you can't be hurt or angry at a make-believe character, because a whole bunch of people mad because Thanos killed Black Panther.
He's stupid.
Killed Black Panther.
Stupid, man.
Mad about it. I'm just saying. They killed Nick Fury. They killed most of the black folks. Thanos killed a whole bunch of black people. We mad. We mad at Thanos.
Right. I was gonna say to Tina too. Take a lot of women say what?
But you know something about that movie? Think about it. Thanos committed genocide throughout the entire universe. But in his mind, he said, now I can go sit down, watch the sunset on a grateful universe, and just take the thanks of a grateful universe. He expected people to be thankful for the genocide he created. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound familiar?
Say it again.
Very much.
That Thanos expected the universe to show him gratitude for committing genocide over half the universe.
Wow.
And he said, I'm going to sit and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe, as if people are supposed to be happy about that. Now, what is that? Does that not sound like some Old Testament stuff?
Sounds just like it. Sounds just like
it. For the 3 people who may not have seen that movie, the spoiler, sorry. Thanos wins.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. But, yeah. But I was in a black theater when I saw it, and black folks were mad at Thanos because he killed Black Panther and other black people.
Absolutely.
So we can be mad.
Black people didn't care about no other black people.
Hey, man, look, here's the thing, man. You can also love a fake character. I mean, look, people often say, why is it that I feel a connection to Jesus if he never existed? Think about this, man. People watch movies all the time and get attached to the main character who dies at the end and literally cry when this person dies. It's an actor. He's paid to play a role. Like he's somewhere else right now sitting on the couch or starring in some other movie, and here you are watching him crying. Please tell me how in the world this person was able to grab a hold of your emotions and he's not real. And then, but you think if you are emotional about any story in the Bible that Jesus must be real because, you felt emotional about it. But you can feel emotional about any movie. You can feel fear, which is an emotion, from watching a scary movie. Again, people fear Candyman over a movie. Had they not ever read about Candyman or saw the movie Candyman, they wouldn't be afraid to look in the mirror and say it 3 times. You see what I'm saying?
I'm with you. And you know what? What's funny about this whole Infinity War Marvel thing? Kevin Feige spent 10 years getting you caught up emotionally into each one of those characters, so that by the time you got to the Infinity War, you felt connected.
Mm-hmm.
So when certain people died in the movie, they were gasped because people were like, oh, I can't believe they killed that person. I can't believe that, because you had invested, you had a belief, you had a connection to these characters for over 10 years of them getting you all caught up into their life, telling you about them, giving you behind the scenes stuff, talking about storyboards, things leading up. They're showing up in other people's movies, getting you all caught into the struggle. Same situation. And it made $1 billion in 11 days.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. And somebody commented they cried when Mufasa died. Like people cried when Bambi died. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like seeing Denzel Washington die at the end of Training Day. I know he was a bad guy on the movie, but he was just so cool. I didn't want to see the guy die. You know what I mean? Honestly, I don't even like that part. I actually skipped that part. Like I don't watch the end of Denzel Washington getting shot up. You see what I'm saying? Now, do I think Alonzo really existed? No, and in real life, I wouldn't even like Alonzo. But on the movie, I mean, Denzel's just a very good actor, and he pulled it off. He just like a cool dude. You know what I mean?
Right. And we got this charismatic story. All these religions got these charismatic stories with these charismatic leaders who the people just gravitated towards. And out of it's that hero worship, it's that celebrity worship that we do, because we think that by somehow through them, we're going to achieve some level of greatness and satisfaction ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we have to attach ourselves to the hero worship or to the person who's going to pull us out of it. This is why we look at actors and entertainers and athletes and say, you got to come back to the neighborhood and help out people and pull people out and pull up the neighborhood. Should they? Yeah, they should. Do they have to? No, they don't. But why is there an expectation that the people have for them instead of having the expectation for yourself?
Right.
Because the only person who pull you out is yourself, not them. They're not there to pull you out. They gave you a pathway. They showed you how you can. Now, this is what I will say about all these ancient books. There are words in there. There is wisdom in there that can help you out in your life. Mm-hmm. You know, that can you be a better person. That can help you to make money and get yourself out of poverty. That can teach you how to love some people. There's some good words in there, but you got to get rid of all that jacked up stuff. You know, absolutely. Okay, you got to get rid of that. You know, I understand the woman committed adultery, but where the dude at? Why they just trying to stone her? Where the guy? I always wondered that when I was young. I was like, where the guy at?
Right.
I mean, to the old law, they should be stoning both of them. Right. Because he just stole this man's property, because that's how women were considered property. Exactly. He just took the man's property. Mm-hmm. He's a thief. He should be stoned with her, but they just drag her up there. Right. You know, it's like, well, okay, there's something missing here. Mm-hmm. And then you do the research and find out that story wasn't even in the original text. Right. That was something. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's in Mark, but it was first in John. Then they put it in Mark at the end of the book. Then they moved it forward. Right. It was like, come on.
And who has the authority to do that? Like, right. Who has, like, again, Jesus is attributed for cursing a fig tree. Now, and let me just say this, because people, I tell you, it's like to think about Jesus and say that he is God in the flesh. Okay. Jesus is walking and he's hungry. He passes by a fig tree in which the Bible says is out of season. Okay, so it's not the season for figs. So you'd be crazy to expect figs to be on a tree with them being out of season, but not Jesus. Jesus expected this fig tree to have a fig or two on it for him specifically because he was hungry. And the Bible says that he cursed this fig tree and it withered on the spot. But then, of course, the next chapter says that the fig tree withered the next day. Like they were supposedly walking and says, look, that's the fig tree that Jesus cursed yesterday. It's wilted now, but it supposedly wilted the day before in front of everyone, right? But I asked the question, Jesus is attributed for using this story or this action of cursing this fig tree as a way to convey to people that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to a mountain, move, and that mountain would have to move. So Jesus cursed the fig tree to make it wither so he could teach you that faith can move mountains. Why not just move a mountain? Why not just move a mountain with your faith? That's, if you want to show people that faith can move mountains with your faith. That seems very logical. Now, here's my thing. Why wilt the fig tree? Before you go,
let me go ahead and answer that. The reason why he had to wither the fig tree, because Josephus ben Matthew was writing the annals of Titus and recording how Titus conquered Jerusalem. Titus ordered all the fig trees around Jerusalem to be uprooted to starve the people out. That's why he had to wither the fig tree. Now go ahead with the allegory.
Now woo! Did you hear that? Bars. All right, so now you got this fig tree, and Jesus who's the giver of life, who's supposed to be all love now, chooses to curse this fig tree instead of make it grow figs. And Lorenzo just explained why he didn't make it grow figs, because that would be outside of the actual story that they're trying to convey here of someone saying, hey, let's destroy and uproot all the fig trees. So, of course, people can't eat off the fig trees and they would be starved out, right? But it's just funny when you take a God now who's supposed to know everything and be all powerful and all love, you're going to curse a plant? Like, come on, man. Why would this fig tree know that you're on your way? Like, for real. Like, this fig tree's supposed to hear your footsteps and be like, let me grow some figs real quick, even though it's outside of season, right? Like, what's the reason you mad at this fig tree? It's out of season, Jesus. Wake up. Like, what is your problem, Jesus? You see what I'm saying?
Because it would have made more sense that if it's out of season, if I'm walking with Kevin, and I know that oranges grow in the wintertime, and what we have is wintertime in the northern hemisphere. I know that's when oranges grow. But it's spring or blazing summer, and all of a sudden you make an orange tree grow some ripe, nice oranges. I'm gonna say you got something. I might listen to you.
You got something.
If you claim to be somebody, I might say, you know what? I saw him do that. You know what I'm saying? If I see that the land is barren and all of a sudden you put a seed of corn in the ground and all of a sudden it just starts growing and sprouts some corn and then we go and have us some elotes, I'm like, man, that dude right there.
He the real deal.
He's somebody. I can get down with him. So show me that. You doing that. That's a miracle. Because that's out of nature.
Absolutely.
So that would be like amazing. So then I'll listen to you. But if you just say I'm gonna make something wither, all right, dude, it's already out of season. Things out of season die. Things out of season wither. It happens every year. That winter time comes, things die. That's why it's called winter. That's why calendars used to stop during the winter.
Absolutely.
Because it was death. That's why they celebrated spring, because they survived the winter. That's the whole idea of understanding seasons. So I'm with you. It's just Josephus wrote about Titus, so it just made the story
right.
So
you got to, and it's so funny because I'm like, people believe that Jesus is God in the flesh who created the whole entire universe, but don't understand figs and when they grow. It's just crazy. Like, and again, it assumes that the fig has a consciousness. People say, well, Kevin, that you can't say plants have a consciousness. This scripture assumes that it does. It suggests that it does. Otherwise, why would you punish it for not doing something, right? I'm mad at you. Why don't you have figs for me, Mr. Fig Tree? I'm going to make you wither right now. Now I'm going to make you bear fruit. I'm going to kill you right now so nobody else can eat from you. So now the same anger that I feel right now for you not having figs, I'm going to put that on everybody now who know this fig tree is here, who walk by and realize this fig tree ain't here no more. And they go see this fig tree. I wonder what happened to that fig tree. Jesus, the Lamb of God, cursed the fig tree. So that's what happened to it. Because it didn't have fruit out of season. That's why he did it. And he did it to show people they could move mountains.
Now, if he really wanted to do something during that time frame, this would have been the time frame that Rome was in charge of the Western world and North Africa and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he go free all the Roman slaves?
Right.
Why didn't he just end the gladiatorial fights in the arenas and the killing of animals just in the arena? Why didn't he just stop the conquest of Rome from just continuing to grow and destroy and take people's land and take their families and that sort of thing? I mean, there was a lot of other things that I think were more important than a fig tree that could have been going on. I mean, because there were people enslaved in chattel slavery then. So could have fixed that. I think that would have been more important.
Renz, oh my gosh, you won't. I mean, I say this all the time. People say, Kevin, you just trying to, get your following up. You just trying to be famous. That's funny because your Jesus was clearly doing that, but you don't notice that. Like in a world where people were actually literally enslaved, he would rather walk on water. Nothing screams selfish louder than that. You see what I'm saying? Like, look, hey guys, look at what I can do while everybody's starving. You see what I'm saying? Like, really, dude? That's your big thing? Like, you could have came and ended slavery and ended world hunger, but you walked on water instead? Come on, man. What's wrong with you? Like, really, what's your problem?
Self-centeredness. The problem is somebody made it up. That's what it is.
Absolutely. That's the problem right there.
By pulling a small little area, telling them how they understand the universe and nature in a way that also keeps people down. That's all. That's what they do. And people today just can't understand that. Just can't see it. That, okay, why wasn't this told all over the world immediately at that time? Why just in this small little
spot? Why choose a really small city, right?
Lived and died, never heard a word about it, never knew anything about it, but we're going to still just believe that everybody should have known and some miraculous way everybody's going to know. And then they just start making up stuff. Well, he went into the grave for 3 days and preached to those souls. Like, really? Anybody? Here's the thing. If I did go to a hell, if Muhammad came down there and I'm in a hell and preaching that I can get out, I'm going with him.
Right.
If Buddha came, I'm going with him. I'm going with anybody who coming down if that was a true existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going with that person.
Right.
It wouldn't matter who it was. Because each one of them has some level of speaking to people who had already passed on. So I listen to whoever come and get me out of this situation, basically. And it's all allegory. It's just all a whole allegory. And that's how people need to understand it. It's just something for you to learn how to live your life. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. Just take it that way.
Absolutely. And somebody says, how can Jesus not exist, but Hercules exists? Like, they totally missed the point. They totally missed the point with that. And I don't want to keep on. Say what, Rizzo?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. That's like Craig. That's somebody who wasn't paying attention. But a lot of people, they don't listen. A lot of people, they already got whatever they want to say in their mind. They're already at their landing point. They don't want to hear it.
They're just waiting for a chance to respond back with what they were already thinking of saying anyway. Not really weighing what you're saying, trying to have a conversation.
We're saying, right. Not exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Which that is what irritates me. When somebody is misquoting me, I use that. Like, I notice some people on here talking some Ren, you want to debate, when you're ready to debate. I don't debate because I could care less about your point of view. Mm-hmm. It's yours. And I'm happy for you. Like, enjoy it. That's my thing. Like, enjoy. Guess what? I really, really enjoy studying the Hermetics and studying alchemy. I enjoy the hell out of that. And I have fun. I don't care to debate about your stuff. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't even read your stuff anymore, because I'm only reading the stuff that I'm enjoying because it's making my life better. And that's what I'm going to focus on. What makes my life better, what gives me happiness and joy, and those people around me who can get down with that. That's it. So I have no desire to debate. Why would I want to go do that? That's like saying, hey, let me go and take myself to a place that I don't like being. Like, I don't like the cold. So I would never go live up north because it's foolishness to me. It's cold up there. So why would I go do it?
Right.
No, I'm going where it's hot. I need heat. Mm-hmm. I'd rather deal with the bugs. So why would I debate you? it serves no purpose for me. It doesn't make me any better. And so, quite frankly, I could care less. I'm like, hey, dude, go and be happy with what you do. And people who like what I say, then we're good. I'm happy to roll with them and do with them. Just like, because I'm about to get off this thing with you. Just like I'm talking about, let's go to Botswana and let's build. Let's build in America. Let's build in Botswana. Let's build in Haiti. I'm more interested in just building with people. But people who I will not take is these people who feel like I got to beat you over the head with my religion in order for me to go with you and build anything with you. If that's your take, stay here. Stay here and go live on the other side of town. But don't come bother me. And don't come bother people who are like us, who say that we just want to think freely and not be bothered and enjoy ourselves. So that's what I want to do, and that's life. And if you don't agree with it, I care less. Really don't care. And we talk because there are other people who are interested.
Right.
There are
people who will suffer from religion. From our point of view, they suffer from religion. They looking for a way to express themselves and can't because the religion doesn't allow them to. They want to think outside of the religion. And so this is what we're here for. We're here to offer that voice whenever they need to hear it, not to come snatch them out of the churches. Listen, this is Facebook, it's YouTube. There's no gun to anybody's head making them come to these channels. And this is what I get all the time. People say, why are you always posting about religion? Like, it's my Facebook wall. Like, if you don't want to come here, there is a block button. Like, Facebook allows you to block me so you don't even have to see it, but you're going to be mad at me for what I post. It's literally crazy. It's like, it's literally like you putting a cup to the wall of my house and asking me why am I continuing to have the same conversations. Like, you don't have to listen. Like, you know.
And I guarantee if you went to their page, they probably posting everything, God this, Jesus that, and Allah this and Muhammad that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you go to them and say, why you always posting about Allah? Why don't you post about Buddha?
My page be more wholesome than theirs. You go on their page, they got people twerking and everything. They got people twerking and everything. Half of them, they be twerking on the thing. Yeah, fights, everything. Because I go look, somebody be like talking junk, and I'm like, let me see who this dude is. I go look, this man got fighting on his page, people twerking, one after another. You know what I mean? He got.
And then it'll be like, God bless you, share this too.
Right. Yeah, God bless you. Hit like if you want people to be cured from cancer. I didn't know it worked that way.
Don't forget the witchcraft they put on now.
Right.
Like, if you want God to bless you with a check, then you got to hit like and keep on going.
Like, really? That's going to work? That's the guy watching the internet now to see how many likes you get. The Facebook algorithms now.
Well, he was concerned about if you wear clothes that were mixed with different threads, so he might be worried about your Facebook.
Yeah, he worried about the small. He cares what your penis look like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey. Is it cute or not? Got to make sure, because he might be worried about your Facebook.
Do not come in my assembly. Where your balls? You're not circumcised. Do not come into the place of worship with your penis looking like that. Get that extra skin. Moses, I'm gonna kill you right now. Oh, okay. Oh, she cut you. Okay. She cut the. Okay. She's circumcised. Okay, I'm cool. I'm calmed down now. You was about to get these hands. You was about to get these hands if she didn't circumcise you, bro. I'm about to tell you. If she didn't do it in haste and just cut you, boy, you was about to get this work. like, really, God, you care about that? Fantastic, awesome, man. You're an amazing guy. Let me get to work. Saw my penis off now so you can like me better. Come on.
And you better not do too much work. It's 7. How many steps did you take today? You take 1,000? You take 99.
Right.
999. How many? Now make sure you keep up with that. Now make sure your slave, now if you beat your slave too much, if he get up in 2 days, then you all right with that for beating your slave. That's okay.
Right, absolutely.
We ain't worried about that.
If he lived for a couple of days, I mean, we wasn't trying to kill him, right? He your property, so I mean, I'm good with that. But hey, your penis though, I care about.
Yeah.
Just make sure your penis circumcised while you beating the slave, and we good. like, you know what I mean? Ooh, and just like,
dude, leave you alone.
Absolutely. I'm about to get off anyway, man. Actually, if you just hang on for a second, I'll let you get some closing words and things like that. Guys, we are going to end this show, of course. I want to thank Tina especially for coming on and sharing, her experience and being willing, of course, to have the courage, knowing what is probably more than likely going to happen on her page. She's probably going to get a lot more ridicule than what she's used to. But we're here. She already knows that, I'm somebody who she can call on at any moment when she needs me. So we're all in this together. She's my sister. I look at her as such, and I will have her back as such. So you guys bothering her, you better be looking forward to Kevin come. Like none of y'all scared of me. I'm always gonna be super nice about it anyway. So I wouldn't expect to put any fear in the hearts of the believers. I mean no harm. I always come in peace. But I wanted to say that it's a lot harder a lot of times for women because of the system that has been set up around us. You guys don't know this, but the word testify come from the word testicle. Myself and Lorenzo was just talking about the word testicle. When people would testify in church, you had, or not in church, but in court, you had to hold your testicles. This is why women couldn't testify. You had to have testicles to be able to testify. We talked about last week or the week before how church emulates that of a courthouse, right? This is why he wears a black robe. This is why you stand up whenever the preacher comes out. You rise at attention for the preacher. You rise at attention for the judge. His gavel is a phallic symbol. This is why he bangs his gavel, right? It's a symbol of authority, right? This is 100% fact, and you can look this stuff up. This is why this is why you can't walk up onto, of course, the podium where a judge sits. And if you go to church, you're not supposed to walk up there where a preacher is. It's supposed to be a place where you can't go. And generally, they have 3 tiers of steps to get to the top, right? This is because it's unanimous with masonry and all of these things. So when you're looking at, and Lorenzo understands a lot of the numerology and all these things. So trust me, if I were wrong, he would tell you. But when you're dealing with the culture of your America, of your government, your church and stuff is built to really mirror that. And this is why you have so much respect for the church, because you have so much respect for your courthouses. You never thought about why your preacher wears a robe. Never thought about these things. An armor bearer versus a bailiff, right? You have these things. So, and they put their hand on the Bible and swear in, right? Just the same way as people put their hand on the Bible and hold the Bible in church. Tell me this. Why do they say, and you can ask a judge, and a lot of them don't even know why they say this. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Why 3 different versions? What's the difference in between the truth and the whole truth and then nothing but the truth? What's the difference? Why do I have to swear to all 3? Why can't I just tell the truth? Why does it have to be all 3? So we live in these systems, guys, where we don't even question them. And if you were to, of course, research the systems that you live in, you will see how these same systems is what design your church and the way they run. With that being said, I'm not going to keep you guys. I want to first thank you, Tina, for coming on, and also give you, any access to any last words that you might want to say to the people before you go, and also tell them where to find you if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I was really excited to be on your show. I love watching your show. To the people that have some nice things to say, I did read some of the comments, so I appreciate you a lot. I also just lastly want to let people know I'm not here to bash anyone's religion, because I'm not that type of person to try to put anyone down for what they believe, but I'm just what some people call the voice of the voiceless. Like, as Kevin said, being a woman especially, it's difficult because people don't always want to hear what I have to say. But I am mostly here to help other people who are coming out of it, especially women, wives, moms. You don't hear from them so much. And I'm a very open person. I'm opinionated. I'm not really afraid of what people may say about me. I don't care. It's fine. But I just appreciate being here and listening to what you and Renz were saying. You guys teach me so much. I appreciate you guys so much. So thank you.
Thank you, and your confidence, your courage is encouraging. And what we're hoping is a lot of people see you willing to come out and express yourself by way of saying, hey, I don't agree with the typical norm, and I know what that's going to bring, but I care enough about having a voice that I'm willing to express myself, because there's so many people who don't have a voice. That there are people who are in different countries who can't say that they don't believe in that country's beliefs, or they can be in prison or even murdered. So we have a right, and we should exercise it. If we do exercise it, Tina, we can offer, information to people who otherwise wouldn't have that information. I didn't hear anything about Jesus not ever existing until I was already a grown man. like a full grown man with children, teaching my children the same stuff. You know what I mean? So if we continue to do what we're doing, hopefully, we can have children who haven't even reached the age of 10 yet, hearing different perspectives while they're on YouTube or wherever they are. This way they can get different perspectives and just not be indoctrinated their whole life. Because again, we love the people, and we don't want to see them, praying and believing in something that's not going to really bring them any hope. We actually hate to see that. So if we can offer up anything to help free people from these religions, if they're not true, there's no need in investing in them, right? So that's the whole thing. Like you said, being a voice for people who don't have one, and you're doing a really great job of that too. Your videos are really good. You articulate yourself well, and for someone who, of course, says, "Hey, I'm still learning," you actually know a lot. You know what I'm saying? Especially to be able to give religious people walking away from religion, to offer them some type of stability, because when people leave religion, they are really traumatized and have no clue, what they're going to do or even how to think. And so you're doing a wonderful job by helping people replace that with healing. So I want to thank you first off for what you bring to the table. And did you actually say the name of your YouTube?
Oh yeah, no, I forgot. I'm sorry. Tina Marie J, and it's also my Facebook, same name on my Facebook. I think Josh put the link in there. I'm not sure where, but I can put it in myself. So if anyone wants to come and see my channel, if you're just coming out of religion and you're afraid, or if you just came out of religious cult, then I'm here for you. You can hit me up. We can talk, whatever. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate you so much, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure's all mine. I appreciate you as well. Lorenzo, before you do your closing words, man, if you don't mind, please elaborate on that comment that you put about whenever you die, how your brain releases DMT and how it causes hallucinations, because you were, of course, explaining to someone who asked you to explain near-death experiences. So if you don't mind, elaborate that on a little bit, and then, of course, tell everybody where to find you in case they don't know. And, of course, thank you for coming on as well.
So I haven't, usually you guys know I'll type a lot more in the comments while we're talking. But tonight I wasn't focused on that too much. But I noticed that Loyalty 100 kept asking about near-death experience. And what I was expressing in the short version was that your brain naturally produces DMT. DMT is a hallucinant. It causes you to hallucinate. And some people do go and they get the ayahuasca trips and they do other things so that they can have that similar experience to the near death of their brains being getting overloaded with DMT. Because when you have a near death experience or die, your brain will dump a ton of DMT. It pretty much gets washed in DMT. And so you go into a hallucinogenic state at that moment. And many people during that time frame, because of what you've been programmed into your subconscious, whether it's about Krishna or Jesus or Allah or Buddha, when you go into that state of your subconscious, what you truly believe is what you then experience. Because even though you may say with your mouth that you're going to heaven, your true belief may be that you think you're a filthy rag and you deserve to go to hell. So if you're Muslim, then you may experience in that DMT trip, that near-death experience, a similarity to hell. And you will have conversation. Because I'm not promoting this for anybody, but I've been on trips before. And you experience it. You have conversation as if you're really there. Because when I did, it was a folded space event where I was speaking to my younger self, but in a mixture of present and past environment. So, and it was just as real as I'm talking to you guys right now. So when people have these near-death experiences, they generally will experience what's in their subconscious mind and understand a true thought. Anybody who does the ayahuasca trips, what they're generally experiencing is finding their true self. And that's what most people come back and say. They discovered their true self. They came to a better understanding of life and death and that sort of thing. And near-death experience is exactly the same thing. But if I was a Christian person, I would tell you this, and I believe it's in Hebrew, where it says that you only have one appointment with death. So for somebody to say they went and met Jesus or met God or met the devil, then that would actually go against the book, because you only have one appointment where you're going to meet with them. And that's supposed to be, whether it's the rapture or is that your actual death or the final day of judgment, that's your only appointment. So near death is not a if you're a Christian, you cannot accept near death as a true thing. It would go against your canon, and that would make you go against your book. So you can't accept near death. You have to accept the scientific explanation that it is a DMT trip that you just went on. So that's what that is. And as far as they also followed it up with what happens to you after death, I'll be honest with you. All we know, all we can prove, all we can show is that there's a conscious energy that leaves your body, that leaves the flesh, the rotting flesh when you die. Where it goes, no one has any proof whatsoever as to where it goes. Now, what we can do at that, though, is that because science and the ancient science of the Hermetics shows that there are different planes of understanding and planes of existence, we have the, like I said earlier, mineral mind, plant mind, animal mind, spiritual mind, that there are different planes of existence, that the law of correspondence, as above, so below. Even they talk about Jacob's ladder, and the Muslims talk about a similar thing. What we can hypothesize, our best estimate, is that you go to a different plane of consciousness because of what nature and the universe is showing us at this level of existence, that there is different levels of consciousness. So the best estimate is that you just ascend or descend to a whole nother level of consciousness, or like the Buddhists, just come on back here and try it again and figure it out. But nobody knows, to be honest. But what we do know is that your consciousness does not die, that there is no such thing as death, that you continue to exist, because even if you went at it scientifically, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So the conscious energy seems to leave the body intact. Therefore, it is not destroyed or dispersed out into nothing. And that's about it. Other than that, we'll find out when we leave. And you have all the answers to that.
Absolutely. And DMT, of course, guys, is dimethyltryptamine. Dimethyltryptamine is produced when you dream, of course, and when you die. It's probably where we get the word die, where we get the word dimension from. It's obviously where we get the word trip from, right? When you take a DMT trip, because it's short for tryptamine, right? We know what DMT is. We don't even know why our brain produces a lot of the chemicals that it produces. When you feel fear, in a lot of cases, your brain produces adrenaline. Why? You're not controlling it. You didn't even know adrenaline existed till somebody told you that that's what's giving you more energy or making you faster or whatever. The main thing is our brain is actually freaking amazing. And trying to explain your brain by saying Jesus or the God I believe in exists is just not fair. It's just not a way to do it, because you don't even understand the capacity and the capabilities of your brain. Yes, your brain can think, but it can also kick into a zone to where it protects your whole body, thus giving you adrenaline, making you faster, making you stronger momentarily, just to help you survive. And you've never even asked your brain to do this. You never said, let me channel my adrenaline and power it up so you could be stronger. It just did it. All of a sudden, you just knew you was running faster and stronger, right? Somebody makes you mad, you start to shake, and your energy starts to go up. Why? Right? Your brain's doing this, right? So, we try to explain, like Lorenzo said, near-death experience, dreams, thinking that you saw Jesus or thinking that you saw whatever image that you had already heard about and was familiar with. Before we end the show, I'm going to give you an example. I want you guys to imagine this God for me. It's a new God. You've never heard of him, and there's a reason for that. But I want you to imagine this God for me. His name is Red Knee. Red Knee is his name. I'm reading enter backwards, so I'm just making up a word here. But it's hard to imagine him, right? Because you haven't been given an image of him. So, of course, it's impossible to imagine something that you don't have the tools to imagine, thus an image. If I were to give you an image of this God, Edri, or whatever, you would be able to process this image and see this thing in your head. So when people die and they think they saw Jesus or whatever, it's because they already had the image, whether they lived their lives as a Christian, an atheist, or what. You don't have people that lived in places that never knew who Jesus was at all wake up seeing this long-haired man, right? This doesn't happen. So it's all about what's already placed in your mind. It's a very powerful thing, your mind is, and just respect it as such, right? That's all I ask. A lot of times we ask these questions, Lorenzo, I know you agree or could agree with that. We ask these questions over things that our brain do that we don't understand why it does it, and think that that is a testament to the God that we believe in. But it's just not the fact. You have cells in your body that move without your consciousness. They rush to heal you up when you bleed. right, your bones heal. No, medicine doesn't do this. Your body does it on its own, right? When a woman reaches a certain age, her body's able to produce a baby now where it didn't before. Where did this special power come from? It already existed inside the child already. It already had all the tools that it needed, but with time, your body develops and things change. You've never seen a little girl say, you know what, I think I'm going to start producing babies now and make my eggs drop and have a period. This doesn't happen. Your body does these things as you grow, right? And again, if we had perfect bodies, now of course people think that periods are caused by a woman eating fruit, but your testicles are outside of your body, and that's probably the most vulnerable thing on you. Okay, so if your body was perfect, maybe your testicles should be inside of you, so you wouldn't have to worry about getting kicked or sitting down too hard and almost dying. You see what I'm saying? It's very clear that we're not made perfect, and we're still, I guess, evolving, if I can use that word, right? So it's just a simple fact, guys. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So if nobody else has anything to offer, we're gonna go ahead and close out.
Yeah. So I'm done.
Okay, brother.
I'm getting dirty looks. So I'm gonna call it a night.
Okay.
But I appreciate everybody. I enjoy being on here. I appreciate you guys giving us this, because truly you guys give us the forum. In all honesty, you guys give us the forum to be able to do it, and you give us the energy to do it. Because the fact of the matter is, for most of my life, I kept everything to myself and did everything with myself as far as my learning and understanding. I mean, there was no internet actually, so. But I didn't even really talk to people. I just kept it to myself, especially growing up in the South. So it's an amazing and wonderful thing to be able to connect with so many people, and I really appreciate that. And then as a shameless plug, I need everybody to go to UR Popcorn, the letter U, the letter R, the word popcorn.com, and order some of Uncle Ren's gourmet popcorn. All right? Because that is how this brother is going to help people move to Botswana so we can be free. So I need y'all to go and order some Uncle Ren's popcorn.
Absolutely. Go support Lorenzo, guys. Let's make that happen. Yeah, you ship it out, right?
Oh, I ship it. Yeah,
there you go, guys. You don't have to live nearby. He'll ship it to you.
I know we got we get overseas people. I don't ship overseas yet, y'all. That costs too much. Because shipping is free. So we got to keep it, we got to keep it 48 states.
Absolutely. And of course, guys, go to BeTheEvolution.org and support our movement by purchasing a shirt. Okay, you get a shirt out of it, and of course, guys, I am a nonprofit. I send you guys back your receipts at the beginning of the year, and you get to write it off on your taxes. You can't lose. All right. So, Tina, is there anything else before we get off?
No, that's it. I had fun talking to you guys. Renz, I'm learning so much from you too. Thank you so much.
Yes, again, we're humbled by that. Very honored. And guys, again, like Lorenzo said, you guys give us the platform. You guys give us the forum in order to speak. We wouldn't even be on here if so many of you guys weren't still coming to hear this information. So thank you guys. You guys are the real MVPs for showing up and even lasting this long. A lot of you guys can see I'm yawning, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are tired too. And here you are still, sitting on and listening. So I want to appreciate all of you guys. Special thanks to you guys. And with that being said, guys, look forward to myself and Lorenzo's event this month on the 26th in Atlanta. I'm going to get you guys possibly a different venue. I cannot get the lady who books to hit me back. So we want to get this event brought up so you guys can get your tickets. I know you're excited to do it. I keep hearing about it, but I'm looking at a different place now. So I'm thinking that maybe the lady who's in charge of booking, maybe she just doesn't want to book it to me because of what I will be teaching. So she's possibly a Christian. I don't know this for sure, but I know that she doesn't respond to my emails or anything of that nature. So maybe we'll have to find a different venue, which I really wanted the Apache Lounge. But if it's not looking that way, guys, hey, all that matters is that we're there and we're having a good time. So just stay tuned, guys, and we'll get that information out there for you. And thank you guys for your time. I love you all, and peace.